Russ Clark with you at Mortgage One. Dean's in this morning.
Glad to be here too.
I got the right microphone on.
You did.
I did,
yeah, you have a lot of experience, you know.
Well, yeah, doing it wrong, and then you figure it out.
Well, that's a very positive way to learn. As long as you don't destroy yourself,
No,
you
I don't.
you learn.
I don't panic. We were ready to go on the air, and I bumped something on the computer, and it turned off my program.
Oh, well,
So took me to scramble a little bit to get it back up. But there's always a technical problem, and the fact that I'm chief technician.
well, you know that makes it that you can fix things. You know, if you've never had to deal with problems, technically you don't. You know, suddenly you're clueless when they happen.
Yeah.
But you have had to scramble and fix things for how many decades now?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you have experience with
And
it.
I think I'm the chief carpenter and furniture mover.
Yeah, all those things. It's nice to be, your own boss.
Well, right. And it all works out. We're on a budget here,
I don't get. You mean you're going to pay me?
No. That's what I mean. There's no budget. The disclaimer. All content presented on the Russ Clark Show, including statements made by guests, commentators, and callers, reflect the personal opinions of those individuals as is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. These views do not represent the official positions of Mortgage One Studios, its owners, employees, affiliates, or partners. Mortgage One Studios does not endorse, verify, or guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements made by third parties during programming. I don't have it memorized yet.
I think we have these things called recorders. You might try one sometime.
We'll get the technician working on that next. Well, I talked to Derek again yesterday.
Excellent.
For updates on where we stand on, having like real technicians that can actually put all the radio equipment in.
Okay.
And that's where I'm going to get the recordings and stuff.
Oh, okay.
When I have a regular the regular stuff here, it'll be a lot easier. If I try to record on that, I can record on that one, but it won't be something I'm going to use ever again.
Oh,
so
I figured you just record, put it on a file on your computer, and then you could hit the button and it'd be good.
I probably could.
I mean, that would be my first inclination.
Yeah, I don't mind reading stuff.
No, that's fine. You did a good job of it.
I don't mind doing that at all. I have been reading a lot this morning, but when you're coming in, I know I have to get here earlier.
Yes, I disrupt your work process.
Well, you do. You come in and we start talking about things, which is not unproductive. It's just
well, I value your opinion on things.
Well,
and so I like to hear it.
I always like to get opinions that don't mirror what I'm thinking.
At the end of the show, remind me. I've got a couple questions on it.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. I know we talked about there's some elections going on. We'll talk about that. But I've been talking about this for a few days because the articles keep popping up and the concern keeps spooling up. And I'm looking at the press on what they're spooling up as a concern.
Sure.
And this has to do with Pentagon ammunition.
Yeah.
And I'm.
We're running out. We're running out.
We've
been running out for 4 years, it seems to me.
We've been running out longer, probably. I don't know. And I got some more stats and some more stuff here. And of course, there's an urgency now in the press. The press is urgent.
Yes.
I don't know what the Pentagon is.
I have a theory as to why the press is urgent.
Why?
These elections coming up called the midterms.
So, they want to throw some shade on the.
They want to depress Trump enthusiasm as much as possible.
Well, I looked at it yesterday, and I talked about it yesterday a little bit about, particularly in relation to Russia-Ukraine war. We did supply some for Ukraine, but not all. A lot of that came from European countries.
And from various different stockpiles.
Yeah, all over the place. But anyway, not counting our donations to them, and a lot of stuff we gave to Ukraine was dated material.
Exactly. I made that point on an online discussion. All of these munitions have a due-by date.
Yep.
And they degrade over time. And at some point, you have to decommission them, which is quite expensive.
Sure. It's just like looking in your refrigerator. It says best used by.
Except figure that instead of just tossing out that used potato salad,
Yeah.
you have to take it to somebody who's a specialist on decommissioning it, make sure it doesn't kill anybody.
You got to pay them to blow it up.
Yeah, right. And I mean, and it's not cheap.
No. And a lot of the stuff we sent to Ukraine was older stuff.
Yeah, I remember
Very
seeing,
older stuff.
when there were some
Yeah.
photographs from, I think, Russian media, or maybe it was Russian social media, and they showed a fragment of an American munition on Russian soil, and it had a date on it, and it was from like 96. And I'm going, oh, we're getting rid of our old stocks.
Yeah, exactly. No, if the military and they have to look at what is normal. Like, I want to have the right amount of airplanes, right amount of ships, right amount of ammunition.
It's a
right
complex and difficult question.
And
to
it's
come up
based
with.
on, are we at war? Are we not at war? Are there threats? Are there not threats?
How many threats?
How many threats? What are the threats? Is it, people with no weaponry, or is it China?
And our stuff gets old and outdated.
It does. But what should the depth be? Now, this always talks about depletion. I'm saying, well, okay, where was the depth and what should it be? Of course, we'll never know those numbers. Those numbers are not public.
You wouldn't want to make them public.
No, and the press doesn't know either.
Right. I mean, and my suspicion is that a lot of people who are saying we're running out
based
on an animus against Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's based on. And then and they don't know how much we have expended.
No.
How much we've given to the Iranians, how much the Israelis have purchased, how much the Saudis have, or whoever.
But there are some public numbers.
There are.
Like budgetary stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
And this one goes into the budget. But yesterday, when I was talking about it, I went and did some research on Russia as best I could.
Oh, yeah,
they're secret too.
They
kind
are.
of.
Of course they are.
But they gave a lot of estimates. We know more estimates on them because we know how many they're expending.
Well, we have probably a pretty good for the large equipment stuff, like a tank or even big trucks,
but even ammunition. We know there's doing like 1,000 a day. 1,000. I mean,
of certain
artillery
kinds.
rounds.
We can't count small arms ammunition.
No. But artillery.
We have probably a pretty good idea
of approximate, and all that, and yet they seem to never run out.
Well, they have factories.
That's exactly right.
That's so do we.
That is the point. Is that, and I did do some research on the factories in Russia, and because Russia's in Ukraine, they spooled up. They opened up more factories and they had more.
Because Russia's in. You mean Russia is involved in the Ukrainian war? Is that what
yeah. So they spooled up their
Of course,
because look, if you're in peacetime, you're not going to say we have to build at least 1,500.
Russia
a day.
is in a wartime economy mode,
right?
And I don't know how much, but a big chunk of their gross national product is going into war expenditures. Right?
And we were in really war mode, particularly during World War II, Vietnam.
Right. Oh, cute.
So what we were spending to manufacture during Vietnam was different than what we do in peacetime.
Right.
And the same with World War II. Now, World War II was crazy. We were making ships and
we outproduced
and
the whole world. The whole rest of the world we outproduced.
It was just nuts how much.
It's how we won the war.
When I start looking at like the Liberty ships were like 800-foot long cargo ships. They're putting out one a day. I'm like, how in the heck?
Yeah, I've seen pictures. I saw a
heck?
picture of a Liberty ship being launched for some reason on the web the other day. And I'm thinking, oh, that's how they did it. There were like 6 launching ramps all next to each other and ships in various stages of completion on all of them.
And they're throwing them out like GM does Chevys.
Yes, it was an incredible.
Yeah.
And those ships didn't just go away. They became the backbone of a lot of commercial shipping for decades later.
Yeah. Well, they were huge.
They were big and they worked.
Yeah. They were not fancy.
I read a report on after the war by a Japanese officer trying to explain how they lost the submarine warfare in World War II.
Okay.
And basically what he said was they had no plan to protect their shipping at the beginning of the war. They just assumed losses would be minimal.
Oh.
And then as the war progressed and they lost a lot of shipping, then they created a commercial shipping protection, bureaucrat or chief or whatever, but they didn't give him a lot of money or power. He was independent for a while, and then the Navy grabbed him, and essentially Japan lost virtually all their commercial shipping during World War II. And they're an island nation. They depended on that shipping to bring in food, to bring in fuel, to bring in everything. And that's why they couldn't resupply. I mean, that's why they were starving. I mean, sure, we hit them with a lot of other stuff, but basically a combination of our surface craft, and a lot of it was and in the last half of the war particularly, was our submarines. We had the best submarines at the start of the war. Or early on in the war, we had the best, but we had the worst torpedoes. Our torpedoes did not work. They repeatedly failed to go off. They would go underneath ships without exploding.
No warranty on those things?
They were horrible, and it was all because we had not tested them very well before the war started.
That's why we have YPG.
They were, yes, exactly so. My whole career is based on our World War II experience. You better test stuff and make sure it works before you get into a war. And we've done that better than any other nation since then. And anyway, these torpedoes, by 1943, they had fixed them. And then we just started sinking everything in sight. It was amazing. And so, but before that, they only worked haphazardly. The Japanese, by the way, had superb torpedoes. Their torpedoes worked extremely well, as we found out in Pearl Harbor. You know, when some of the planes dropped torpedoes, it was amazing to me how bad our torpedoes were, and at the same time, how great our submarines were.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these submarines would get into perfect attack position. They'd launch a volley of, all the forward tubes, however they, I think probably 4 in most cases, and then nothing. I mean, the torpedoes would misfire. They would miss. Gosh. They would go underneath the ship.
See, now that's if nothing else, just embarrassing.
We had Japanese ships going back to Japan, and they had an unexploded torpedo stuck in their hull.
Oh wow, not good for us.
No.
Well, getting back to the Pentagon, it says, this article says, Pentagon races to buy 10 times more missiles as Iran. See, a few things about that. I don't doubt they're buying 10 times more because we haven't been expending them.
What?
We have been using them until recently.
10 times more than at what point is what the point
10 times when we weren't in a conflict.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very plausible and it makes sense. But when did we start? When did we ramp up? I think we probably started ramping up about 4 or 5 years ago.
No, we did not. Not according to this. And we should have, probably.
Well, of course, 4 or 5 years ago, we were under Biden.
Yeah. Well, according to budget documents, and I'm just talking the PAC-3 MSE, that's the Patriot missile. The procurement for 24 was only 230, and then only 214 in 2025. They weren't buying a lot. Now
that seems a little surprising to me.
It was Biden.
Well, 25.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
well, in 26. The budget for the Army Requirements Oversight Council was 3,376, and they bumped it to 13,773.
Okay, well, so somebody's
paying attention.
Yeah.
Hey, we've gone through these.
And this is probably, like the Mark 7. I'm just throwing a number out there as the improvement. It's the latest, greatest, not the first model.
Well, I'm thinking that the latest one is the cheaper one. Remember they're making that one that's less than half the price,
right?
Because their prices were getting high, and of course you're buying 200 a year. The volume's not there, and
200 a year. They're probably mostly like handcrafted. If you're buying 10,000 a year, they better have a production line.
These production guys are like, man, we're not making any money. I mean, the price goes down with volume on.
Well, part of it is because so much of the price is in the developmental cost,
and that's
the initial cost tends to be very high. We've already paid that.
Of course, it's never always done. They're always tweaking.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. Mark 7 as just an example.
But the THAAD, the Thermal High Altitude Area Defense, are finding they need to order more, as well as the Patriot missiles, the PAC-3 MSE, is what they're doing. So according to Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, the problem is 25 years of not buying enough munitions. Now he's retired, and of course, I think every admiral out there and every general wants more stockpiles. What's enough? What's enough?
It's a difficult question, and having worked in research development, testing and evaluation for virtually all my career, I've been interested in some of these questions, and one of the things is, how much stuff do you buy and then not use and then scrap because you never used
Well,
it?
that was just it. If he said 25 years ago, now had they stockpiled heavy 25 years ago, it would be obsolete, a lot of it.
Exactly so. And then but the other thing is, you want to have enough there when you need it. And in the 90s, the early 90s, part of the philosophy was, we will test and we will develop and we'll come up with the best stuff as quick as we can.
Yeah.
But we won't necessarily produce a lot of it because we might want to skip a generation. We'll not produce a bunch, figuring maybe we don't have to use this, and then we'll wait for the next generation, and then maybe we'll produce more of them.
I kind of wait until we see what Ukraine does, because they're working on their own Patriot type missile.
Well, yes, they are,
and they'll do it on cheap,
of course, because they have to. And maybe there's other solutions. I mean, one of the things,
like the drones
and lasers.
Yeah.
Directed energy weapons, blinder systems that blind the sensors on it.
Yeah, I've been reading more about that, and those are like microwaves and stuff like that.
There's a whole bunch of different tech
different ways
out
to
there.
do it.
It'll shake out. I mean, lasers look like they're really good, and they are, as long as there's not too much fog, cloud cover.
And you don't mind waiting until the last minute, because they got to be closer.
Well, they have to be closer. I mean, the very best lasers probably have a range of about 10, 15 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, for incoming threats like that. I mean, we had the high energy laser that I helped support test for high altitude. Let's see, that was developed mostly at White Sands. I sat in on some of that. It was extremely interesting. And the tech we developed was fantastic, but it was a chemical laser.
Yeah.
And it was super high powered. And we shot down a missile with it. I mean, the U.S. military, at the time I was part of that, shot down a missile with it in a test from like 200 miles away, above the Earth's atmosphere. I mean, but it dealt with extremely dangerous gases, really toxic stuff like fluorine.
And I read on the current weapon systems that have that same kind of range. I don't remember if it's microwave or it's laser or what it is, but they said one of the problems with it is making sure you know what's behind what you're aiming at, because you could inadvertently knock out a satellite. I'm like, satellite?
That might be a problem. I mean, space is big, but we are getting more and more satellites up there. And the problem with the gas laser was you use this tremendous amount of really toxic stuff. You needed a big plane to put it in. I don't imagine
it's cheap to pull the trigger.
No.
And see, that's something on these modern.
And you only had so many shots because of this. Now we're using direct energy. I mean, direct electrical produced lasers, which are way more efficient. And the Israelis are using them in their Iron Dome. We're using them, I think, on a tactical level we're testing them out.
But those are like the 15 miles, and they're like
15 and maybe less, maybe 5 miles.
Well, and they're good for the smaller drones, particularly.
Yes, and so then they take a lot of power. So if you got a nuclear powered aircraft carrier, you can produce a lot of power. They work great with that.
The ones on the aircraft carriers and stuff, they said they can literally fire all day. It's never going to be short of power.
Right,
but they're not going to do that on a diesel power.
Like any machine, even a really efficient machine, produces some waste heat.
Yeah.
And so you got to get rid of that heat somehow.
Well,
when you're at sea, it's usually not too bad. You end up dumping it in the ocean water, and it's no big deal. Raises temperature of water a little bit.
Well, the one they had bolted to that aircraft carrier, they said cooling wasn't a problem, energy wasn't a problem, fog's a problem.
Yeah. And of course, if you are an enemy, if you're a belligerent and you're looking at that, you say, okay, what can I do to protect myself? Well, you throw out a bunch of smoke shells in front of the laser, hopefully,
maybe
when you need it as a possibility. Or you put a bunch of decoys.
Of course, the idea behind some of our weaponry is that we don't solely rely on one.
That's right.
There's going to be layers
That's
of
correct.
stuff.
And
so the smoke says, okay, switch to this one.
right. And it, you hope you have enough to make a difference. And frankly, I would put our weapons development against any in the world. I think we're like 2 or 3 times ahead of even China. Partly because we have a lot of experience in real combat situations, and our troops, our officers, our commanders have experienced combat, and they go, this thing's got to work. And frankly, I know the developmental force in research, development, test, and evaluation that I worked with closely for 30 plus years. They're dedicated. They really want this stuff to work. They understand that if it doesn't work, lives are at risk, and it's a mindset that is important.
And we talk about that just because of this rear admiral that said the problem is we haven't been buying enough for 25 years. But if we buy all that, then why do we keep doing research? We get all that stuff on the shelf. It's gonna age and not well.
We live in a technological environment that the development is accelerating and has been accelerating rapidly. I would say for 300 years, but especially since World War II.
But right now they realize that we need some stockpiles. And so they want to do it. But the press kind of pushes it like we're in trouble. I don't think so. And Russia, what little information I could get, they did give an estimate on their ballistic missiles. They said they make around 600 to 800 a year. That's a lot.
It's a lot of ballistic missiles. It is.
It is. Of course, I think they're using them.
We know they're using some in Ukraine, and probably someone is keeping track. I have not.
Of course, that's just ballistic offensive missiles. I couldn't get any
hypersonics.
I couldn't get anything on defensive stuff from them, and they use a lot of that too.
Sure, they do.
Even though it doesn't look like it, because so much Ukrainian stuff.
I mean, it's the way this works. I mean, I watched the reports on this, and Russia has shot down 470 drones that the Ukraine launched in an attack. Well, they don't tell you that 40 drones got through and destroyed 2 oil refineries.
Yeah.
I mean, so you launch a lot of them, but if a few get through and destroy critical infrastructure, it's important.
And the stuff they're launching is no cheaper than the Patriots.
Well, for the Ukrainians, it's much cheaper.
No, I'm talking of Russia's.
Russia's
like they're doing the S-300, the S-400s.
Right. Those are very expensive relatively. Now, you get into a problem when you try to compare one country's expenditures with another's, because it's not always anywhere near equivalent. I mean, they might have 10 engineers and 500 workers working for a month, and we have 10 engineers and 500 workers working for a month. But their cost is 1/10 of ours on the official exchange rate.
It can be.
I mean, so does that mean that they're producing stuff cheaper? No, it's just that the exchange rate isn't very realistic.
Yeah, but the hit on their economy is about the same.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at.
It's costing them. And I bring that up just to say, look, if Russia can spool up and they don't have near the capability we do, of course we can spool up. I don't worry about it.
There's a problem with that assumption.
What?
Russia has kept their World War II capability pretty much intact. I mean, to produce stuff. They have not destroyed their industrial capability. In the U.S., we destroyed a whole lot of our industrial capability.
I read that Russia had to build more capability.
They probably
of what's going on. So
and
they didn't have a surplus. Then.
And they might have had stuff in mothballs. But I remember the Baraboo, Wisconsin munition plant. It was a huge, enormous plant, produced enormous amounts of munitions in World War II. And it still was producing stuff during Vietnam.
Okay.
It's been destroyed. There's nothing left. There's people go in there and they show videos of the docks with, the loading docks on a railway with trees growing up. I mean, it's sad.
Well,
it was a huge industrial capacity, and we just, I don't know. How much capacity do we need for explosives?
And that's a question. And right now, it looks like the Pentagon's pumping up a tremendous amount to the point where the suppliers are saying, fine and good. We need your help to build more capacity.
Well, and there are some things that we do not have. We're at, we only have 1 or 2 plants I only know, yeah, there are two that produce the primary material you need to create
Well,
weapons grade explosives.
again, and that's another issue that was discovered. I mean,
Right.
that was talked about in this. As about the ancillary suppliers, which also need to be beefed up, but that's just a problem recognized and solved just the same way.
Well, I think we can.
It's just time and money.
Yeah. Well, that's,
That's
those two
all.
things are just the limits on almost
there's a limit on
great
that.
many things in life.
Mandani doesn't seem to have a limit on it.
Yeah, well, that's, if you live on fantasy and fairy tales, time and money are not that important.
But it's going to take time and money. And in this article, of course, they say, well, if we got into a conflict with China right now, and
well, and that I think that's unlikely.
right,
and I think because the Chinese are not stupid, and they look at what happened in Iran, they look at what happened in Venezuela, and they say, what's it gain us to try to invade Taiwan right now?
I think,
and I think they'd say, why?
As a side note, since you mentioned that, China, I think, has been really surprised that their system don't work.
Well, that's their systems do not work well against current American technology.
But
and
a year ago,
innovation.
they thought they did.
That's right.
A year ago, they celebrated that we finally broke it. We can identify an F-22. We can see it.
Yeah,
It's not blind anymore. We've got this great radar.
I think they thought the systems worked,
Right.
but in real situations where real combat was going on and the U.S. unleashed its full potential, they didn't work hardly at all.
They were told it works.
Well, and
the guy that was running the departments, the engineer and all that, was praised as an all-time hero. He was put on a pedestal, and he lied, is what they think.
Well,
and what happened was, he's disappeared now. No one knows where he is.
I said my whole career is in research, development, testing, evaluation.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the ultimate test is combat.
Yeah.
And things can look really good on paper, and then they don't work out so well in the real world for a number of reasons. Because the enemy gets a say, they get a vote. And the U.S. is the most sophisticated opponent anyone on the world faces.
But they put their top, and I'm talking China.
Yeah.
China put the top radar in Venezuela to protect Maduro.
Yes, I think they did.
And Maduro was so cocky about it. He said, "Come get me, I'm right here."
Did he really say that?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. He was as bad as Noriega.
He challenged him. He thought he was safe.
That's
and so they got him. They went in and got him because he knew he had the best radar that China had, the best radar Russia did.
Large number of competent troops.
Yeah. And anti-aircraft from China, anti-aircraft from Russia that were supposed to identify F-22s, and the F-35s, and we flew it in there and surprised them.
We did, and I think it was a combination of technology and tactics that did it.
And we don't even know what they used yet.
We just hopefully they are very well kept secrets.
The power went out.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just from eyewitnesses and people that were there. They said all the power went out and nothing worked on some of it. The power, backup power they have, but all the power went out.
Well, I know we have a very strong development of electronic warfare.
And then people started falling down, bleeding from the face.
I've heard that too.
And it's like, we don't know what's happening.
Right.
And then someone picks up the Maduro, leaves, and then the power comes back on and everything goes back to normal with a bunch of dead people laying there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty fair account, I think, of how it happened.
And
they
don't talk about it.
Well, because hopefully our leaders are not completely stupid.
I think it was aliens.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, start with that one.
It was our invisible allies, the Greys.
Well, yeah, and we partnered with them,
and they said,
allies.
"Yeah, this is important for the development of the human species. It's best if Maduro ends up in jail."
Okay, don't take us seriously on any of this.
You can take it as seriously as you want, and we'll start another whole conspiracy theory. And some people have this theory, by the way, and believe it's true.
Oh, really?
That we have alien technology, and that's what
I believe that is true. Uh-oh. I just lost Dean.
Well, whatever.
Well,
I will disagree with
I-
you on this.
But I told you the story from Ray Jensen, the engineer that worked on the
Yeah.
Polaris missile, where
Yeah.
he doesn't know where it came from there. He doesn't know if it's alien, what it was. But
Yeah, I recall the
But
story.
they threw stuff on his desk and said, "Can you reverse engineer it?" And he didn't know what it was, and he figured it out. It was carbon fiber, and it's first ever. When it was developed for the Polaris, he was in on that team, and they developed it from some 25-year-old bureaucrat gave him something that came out of a file cabinet in Groom Lake, and he picked it up and took it back to Groom Lake, and they had a Polaris missile with carbon fiber. So
I'm
and that's
color me skeptical.
Of course. But that's Ray Jensen, who was, of course, he was one of the leaders on that team making the Polaris missile. And he ended up opening Automotive Parts Exchange here in Yuma. He manned that business making manufacturing starters and alternators for a long time.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was him. He was the one we sat down and discussed a lot over.
Well, I have had close friends of mine who described UFOs that they
Okay.
had seen
Uh-huh.
that were hard to understand with our current situation as to what they were.
A lot of documents of stuff like that
So
that we don't know. That's what
I will put forward. We don't know. I find it highly unlikely that we have any commerce or contacts with other alien civilizations.
I have no idea on that. And Ray never made any of those claims. He had some material that he reverse engineered,
right.
But that's all. And it looked like it was busted up and burnt, like it was in an accident.
Well, reverse engineering material is difficult for anything that's really sophisticated. Can you imagine a 1950s scientist trying to reverse engineer an integrated circuit?
Can't. I don't think there was equipment.
How do you even figure out what's going on? You have no idea.
A magnifying glass.
And you go, wow, there's a lot of things there. And I don't even have an electronic microscope I can look at it with.
But this was carbon fiber. He could figure out it was carbon.
Yeah,
but it didn't make sense. It says carbon's brittle. It couldn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Carbon fiber doesn't make sense. And it did.
There's all kinds of interesting things we are finding within material science. A very close friend of mine was a metallurgist, specialist in material science. He taught me quite a bit. And what we are doing is fascinating, and it's a huge step forward. It's how we handle materials. I mean, we made the first. You could argue our first real serious material science was, fitting a stone axe head to a wooden spear, a shaft. And
wow, that just doesn't make sense.
And and we all our tech has accelerated since then.
And we don't think as much about it now.
Well, a lot of people think about it a lot.
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise us.
Oh yeah, we're used to the acceleration of technology.
Right.
And it's going faster and faster all the time. I don't claim
when Musk wanted to stamp out the front end of a vehicle in one shot, just make one mold for all the front end, and I'm talking the structural part of it, which normally takes like 80, 90 pieces welded together to make the front end of a car. He said, I just want to do it in a stamp like I used to buy my Hot Wheels car. They just stamped out the frame and in one piece. We could do that for a real car. And what they could get a press. They bought these huge presses to press a piece that big.
Yeah.
And they can make molds. The problem was there was no metal that they could put in those molds that would be strong enough without heat treating. And if you heat treat it, because they're so different much size, it would warp it and it wouldn't be the desired shape. They had to come up with a metal that was hard enough and stayed liquid long enough to fill the mold and then not need heat treating.
But they were stamping it, right?
Stamping it. Yeah.
So that's not a liquid process. You just
part of it was, I think. I don't know.
As far as my technology goes, and I know a little bit about this, I don't think it was.
Well, some of it was
liquid.
molds. I know.
You might heat it perhaps beforehand to make it more ductile. I mean, this is all possible. But what you're describing is correct. in that you probably needed a very specific alloy of steel
And so he said, "Well,
to
just
do it.
we'll just make an alloy." And they just went to work on it. And they made an alloy
Right.
that could fill these molds, and these were
And
molds.
they had
and
enough demand that it made sense for a
Yeah.
steel manufacturer to produce this.
But I don't know, years ago we did that. We said, "Well, we'll just make a different type of metal."
Well, all of that is fascinating if you want to look
Yeah.
at the history of it. And it really starts, yeah, you know, if you want to get quirky about it, you could say it starts when we figured out how to make bronze.
I was going to say Bronze Age, yeah.
But really knowing what was going on and figuring out how to do it was probably about the late 1800s.
We got good at it.
We got better. We understood how to make steel in mass production, the Bessemer process, all of that.
Well,
and then we figured out, well, how is it that steel has all, you know, we can do all these properties, and then we figured out the alloy.
you know, this all started
of
with
it.
a discussion about the Pentagon race to get more.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we kind of.
No, that's okay. I don't care. It's all connected, I guess. Bottom line is they are stamping up. I mean, putting up
Right. And
production, and I don't worry about it. I think we've got the capacity, and if the Pentagon says we need it, they'll get it.
I think so. And look at, you mentioned Musk, so I'm going to say we have this incredible success of the number 40 spaceship, Starship launch.
Yeah.
Where it basically sets down in the Indian Ocean to a standstill and then slowly tips over and remains afloat for at least a couple weeks. They were going to try and tow it to.
They finally are losing it, aren't they?
Well, it had some rough weather, and they may or may not have lost it. I don't know. Last I heard, rough weather. We don't know if we're going to be. We don't. It looks bad. We probably won't be able to get it to Australia. That was the last I heard.
That's the last I heard, and I don't know what came of it.
But it's just an incredible achievement, and they're looking at the next flight of a Starship that they're going to try and catch it with
they've caught them before
with the chopsticks. No, not Starship. They've never caught a Starship before.
Just the booster.
The booster for Falcon, the heavy booster they've caught.
Starship's much bigger,
and Starship they have not, and I don't think they've. I don't know for certain, but I don't think they've caught a Starship booster yet. And all of the Starship itself looks like they're going to catch that. And one of the major thrusts of this technology is to make the Starship and the booster reusable. They've got Falcon 9 boosters they've reused over 30 times. Amazing. And that's what cuts the cost down incredibly. And the Falcon 9 has already reduced the cost of going into orbit by 90%. And once they get the Starship in mass production, which looks like it's happening, everything seems to be on track, that they look to reduce the cost of getting a kilogram into orbit by another 90%, which is 99% from what it was 20 years ago.
At that rate, it won't be long. They'll be paying you and me to go.
Well, at that rate, it means you might be able to get into orbit for the cost of going to Australia now.
Cheaper than Uber, maybe.
Nah, not quite.
Yeah.
I mean, right now they're looking at the cheapest cost of being about $50 per kilogram.
Wow.
Which is cheap, considering it used to be 5,000.
I looked up this Starship number 40.
Yeah.
And it says on the outlook of getting it recovered, it says Elon Musk has noted that the prospects for successful towing the large vehicle all the way back to port are increasingly difficult, leaving its ultimate salvage uncertain. So we're still in the uncertain.
Yeah, well, we're
not. They haven't determined it's not doable.
It was the first Starship to float.
Yeah, they weren't expecting it.
They did not expect it, but it was so successful. It started floating, and it wasn't taking on much water. It didn't appear, if any, and they've towed it a ways. I think it's moved a couple 100 miles, but you get into bad weather, you've got this vehicle that was not designed for ocean, to float on the ocean.
No,
and it wasn't designed to be towed.
They're still towing it. I don't know what speed that thing's going. It's got to be going like,
I would think
5 mile an hour or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. You wouldn't want to tow it very fast, but even 5 miles an hour in a day, it covers 120 miles.
Yeah,
and it was a few hundred miles from the Australian coast. But you get into bad weather. I mean, I have never been on a ship in really bad weather on the ocean, but I've seen lots of pictures. It can be incredibly rough, and the stresses put on things are enormous. So
it may break away and lose it. It'll drift out there for years, and it'll end up on a beach somewhere.
That would be interesting. I'm sure they've got trackers on it, but yeah,
because it's not sinking. It's
not
just,
yet. But I mean, if it gets a lot of stress put on it that it wasn't designed to take,
yeah, that's right.
You could get a crack, you could get a hole, and once it starts taking on water,
it just
to
takes
any
on
significant amount, it gets worse and worse, and eventually it sinks. Now, that would be kind of amusing if it ended up on a beach somewhere.
Years from now. Yeah.
Well, or even it's so big you can see it from satellites easily.
Kind of a letter in a bottle.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why SpaceX wants to recover it, to look at the actual physical tiles, everything else with it, but they can learn things that are useful. But
if we wanted to load it onto like a Navy ship, the kind that has boats on it and stuff, could they pull that in there? Is it too big for that?
I think it's really big, which makes it very difficult. It's so big. The weight is probably not the biggest thing that's the problem. It's how do you cradle it? How do you move it? I mean, it's meant to be launched and land vertically, and now it's on its side. I mean, so where do you put, straps around it or under it to lift it from the water? And then where do you put it, and how do you set it down?
I trust the military figure that all out. They'll get it in there. But I'm saying those big ships, the landing craft that have the big bays up front to that, or maybe this thing's too big for them.
I think it's too big,
but
it's huge.
But look at the boats they put in those things. Those landing craft. Those
I think they put out probably the best craft that are available to handle it. There's some big commercial sort of like towing tugs and stuff there, and I've saw pictures of them, and this was not planned for. They did not expect it to float.
Of course, we don't want to get the military involved. I don't know if they get involved. It's a private enterprise. It's not commercial.
I agree. And it turns out we have a treaty with Australia about secrets, about technological secrets. And so if we get it to Australia to a port, it's protected. It's not just anybody's. Nobody can salvage it. And it's protected from other people trying to, let's grab one of those motors so that we can figure it out, type of thing. I hope it gets to Australia. It'd be a great museum piece, if nothing else.
And it'd be great to have him do the research on it and take a look at it.
Right.
Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Good morning, Russ. Good morning, Dean.
Good morning.
You were talking earlier about, I'm going to go back a little bit, about ammunitions.
Yes.
And General Holtz was talking about the ammunition. He says we got enough ammunition that we'll never run out. He says, like you were saying, they're recycling it, getting rid of the old stuff.
Yeah.
It went to Ukraine.
Yeah.
But we got plenty of ammunition. That's just all Democrat BS.
It's hard for us to know because it's a secret.
It really is hard to know. And we have it's our capacity to produce ammunition is limited by time and space and material. So we don't know what that is exactly. And I know that we got rid of a huge, we were outproducing the rest of the world at the end of World War II.
Right. Of course, a 223 is a lot different than a THAAD missile.
Well, that it is. And, my father spent World War II producing bombs and I think torpedoes. They told us they were making aircraft.
He made the bad torpedoes.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because mostly they said it was bombs, but maybe torpedoes. I don't know. And you had to make the good torpedoes somewhere. So I don't know. It was I think A.O. Smith out of Milwaukee where he worked, and he had a 4F rating because of an ulcer. So he ended up in charge of a gang of women producing this stuff in this factory.
With an ulcer, he had women working for him. That's terrible.
Well, that's the way it worked. He didn't tell me much about it, but it was it was a difficult time for everybody. The U.S. came out better than I think any other major belligerent in World War II. Way better than England, better than Germany. Better than Russia.
To
China.
To the caller, you called about the ammunition. I think we kind of agree that It's
You know,
probably
now the main thing I called about was about the heavy hauler.
The what?
There is a ship, like you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
There is a ship that is large enough they can, and I've seen it on the Discovery Channel about heavy haulers.
Yeah.
And there is a ship that is large enough to carry a destroyer on it back to port.
Really?
Well, you remind me of, we had the Glomar Explorer, if you recall, that recovered that Russian nuclear sub.
Why
And
aren't
then
they pulling that out?
But that was meant to
there's
come up from the
also
bottom.
Yeah, well, this is a ship that goes down. It'll submerge. I forget how far it'll go down, but they can put an X amount of feet of water where they can actually.
And then right. Wow, that's huge.
Then you raise it back up. But there's also one that's big enough. This was on the same program that they're working on one that is big enough to carry an aircraft carrier.
That's amazing. I find that incredible because these aircraft carriers are enormous.
Yeah, but this ship is enormous.
Apparently
but I mean, part of the problem is, where is it and how quickly can we get it there?
Probably 5 miles an hour.
Well, no, those big ships are pretty fast. They probably go 25.
And I'm looking at one that it's just like a big flatbed on the back of it, and it goes under water.
Yeah, they sink it down,
and then it pushes the product on top of it.
I find it incredible that there's enough demand to build something like that. They have to be incredibly expensive.
There it is, loaded.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, wow. Okay. Yeah, there is ships out there that can do that. I did not think about that. Why aren't they out there?
Well,
Musk has enough money to rent it.
Well, what's it take? How much time does it take it to get from Europe to there, or wherever they're from, or China? You know, it takes a while, and you can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I've even seen there was one that they had to go through with some locks or something with this thing on the back of it, and it was funnier than heck seeing this thing going through a Panama Canal with that ship sitting on it going through there. Of course they don't go very fast, but but it was crazy watching this program hauling those ships around on its back.
I think the internet has done a fabulous job of making everybody smarter. Wow.
I agree.
I just showed Dean a picture of it's a heavy lift ship. It's got, I don't know what kind of ship that is. It's a Navy.
I don't know. It looks like a military craft of some kind.
Yeah, big. It's got to be a few hundred feet long.
Looks to me bigger than a destroyer, but
probably bigger than SpaceX.
Oh yeah, I would think SpaceX is I think 130 feet long or something.
Yeah, this ship looks bigger than that, and that thing looks like it went under it and just picked it up. That's amazing. There's a better picture of it.
Wow.
It just went under the ship and picked it up. I had no idea.
I mean, I would think, you'd have to do a lot of buttressing and stuff. I mean, ships aren't meant to sit on a flat surface.
No.
So, you'd have to figure out ways to keep them from tipping over.
Yeah, there's going to be some building of some cradles on that.
Yeah, that's exactly what they'd need, some kind of cradles.
Wow, interesting. I appreciate that. So now we need to call Elon and tell him. Thank you. All right.
By this time, he's probably already got a couple.
Oh, he probably does.
Well, I suspect something like that they considered quickly, but it was just the time to get them in place.
I would be surprised if I could call Elon and tell him something he doesn't know.
Yeah, well,
I think if we think hard about it, we could come up things that Elon doesn't know. Like, what's the population of Kosovo at this moment? You go, why should I care?
Yeah.
Also, too, there was yesterday I was watching on YouTube about a bomb that they had. They only had one plane that could carry it. It was at this guy's museum in Arizona, and the bomb is so big that the steel that it's made out of is 3 inches thick.
That sounds like a bunker buster or something. Maybe
pretty heavy stuff. All right, thank you, man.
But all right,
thank you. Bye.
3-inch thick casing on a bomb.
It's heavy. Have you ever had to pick up. I had to pick up train track before to move it.
Little segments. I
Well-
mean, you know, anything more than a couple feet long gets pretty really heavy.
These were like 40 footers.
What?
Yeah.
And you were picking them up?
Well, I was
One end, maybe.
one of a team, not even one end. I mean, these things were
Yeah.
1,000 pounds or something.
Yeah, they're
There's something
huge. I mean,
Crazy.
they're really, really
but
heavy.
I think it was 80 pounds a foot is what it was. It
That
was
sounds reasonable.
about
to me.
80 pounds a foot. And what we had is maybe they were 20, might have been 20 foot long, but we had about 15, 20 guys on one side, 15, 20 guys on the other side. So it took about 30 people,
Yeah.
and everybody had to lift 80 pounds almost.
Yeah.
And to pick that thing up and move it
Right.
was amazingly heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after we got one or two and people started getting weaker, it became really, really tough.
Oh, yeah.
You know, tell them like, pick it up, guys, because people.
Well, I've handled sections, 18 inches long or so, because they make pretty good anvils.
Yes, they do. I've known a lot of people cut them up, make
Yeah.
anvils. The people at the railroad don't like it, when you're messing an anvil.
Well, I
section
mean,
on it.
because some of this stuff becomes surplus, and
Well,
worn out.
oh, so you don't cut it off of an active line?
No.
Good. That's
Oh,
good.
I've got a story along those lines. There's a little railroad that ran past my grandparents'
Yeah.
homestead,
Uh.
and it eventually went defunct. And somebody, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to buy a section of it that was 20 miles down the line from where we were, and he was able to purchase like 20 or 30 miles of it.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot.
I mean, and because it was defunct, anyway, and I think he was going to put like a sort of a recreational train on it or something, for people give rides on these things and charge money. Well, it turned out when fracking sand got to be very valuable, that they needed railroads again from areas where this fracking sand was, and they needed a place to park cars.
Yeah.
So he's able to, this is from hearsay, I guess, but it made sense to me. I've seen the cars parked along there. He charges like $20 a month per car to park on these tracks, and is pulling in money hand over fist.
He just bought them at surplus.
He just got the track because he liked trains, and he thought, well, I can turn this.
I like $20 a month better than trains
per car.
per car. How many cars?
So-
are
so-
there? 1,000 or
Well, if you have a mile of track, that's probably well over 100 cars,
oh, that's good.
and
money.
he's got 20 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, say 200 miles per 100 cars. I don't know. I mean, 200 cars per 100 per mile. I don't know.
Man.
I mean, I'd have to measure it out, think about it. But even at 100, that's thousands of cars you can park.
Yeah. If
At
there's that
$20
money
a
demand,
month, that starts adding up.
I'd take it.
Yeah.
I'd-
And it's in use. I mean, I can see it. I drive by it on the way to my grandparents' homestead, and in that area I have quite a few relatives, and the train track pretty much kind of follows the highway, which both of them tend to follow the rivers because that's the flatter, easier terrain. And you see them. I see lots of cars.
So when he bought it all, he bought the property under it also. He bought
Well,
the property.
he would buy. I mean, the railroads had right of way
Right.
that they got mostly from the government in order to build the tracks.
Right.
And so when he bought it, probably he bought the right of way and the hard stock on it.
Okay.
And that's what I suspect, because some of that right of way was turned back over to whoever had the deed to the property that was on both sides of it, essentially. And some of it was not. I know that my father at the time, this was in the 70s, said bad idea to give this back or give it to the original property holders, because right of ways are hard to come by. And he says,
Yeah.
we need that right away. We're going to need it sometime. And he was absolutely 100% correct. And, some people listened, or some people did what he recommended and others didn't.
Well, then you got a 20-mile track with a mile in the middle that's not connect. It's not good if you gave someone.
Well, but it's not, his section was connected to active track,
okay.
is the way it worked. And what happened in a lot of the rest of it was the train rails were pulled up and sold to scrap.
Oh yeah, I imagine that'd be.
And you can walk, I have many times, along the right of way, which now is used as a snowmobile track in the wintertime and a four-wheeler in summer.
Is the train track gone now? The metal's all gone.
The steel tracks are gone, but you walk a mile along that track, you're probably going to find 5 or 6 spikes that, were in the dirt for whatever reason, and various hardware that connected the tracks. I mean, in modern tracks, they're welded together, but at the time, spikes and steel connectors were used, and I found a few of them and gave them to the grandkids. They make pretty good little hammers, and people have made knives out of them.
It's that strong.
It's good steel, and the knives, in my opinion, are kind of heavy for what you get. People have done it.
Yeah.
But like I said, you could make. Wouldn't be hard to make a simple little hammer out. Yeah, it work as a halfway's a hammer. Just put it in your hand and use the head, which is slightly rounded, and you can hammer stuff with that. I wouldn't want to get hit with one, that's for sure.
I want to talk about the freedom haulers. We mentioned that the other day that Donald Trump, is pushed the illegal immigrants out of driving tractor trailers,
right?
And he launched the freedom hauler type program, which is to get military people to transition into being truck drivers,
right?
And apparently that program's working. Apparently, and this starts off the article like saying truckers carry more than 71% of our nation's freight. Only 71%?
Well,
what's the other 30%? I mean,
it's a matter of definition. Do we include all the container ships coming to U.S. ports? I doubt it.
Well, but they end up on trucks
eventually,
or train. There were some
trains. I mean, but
I don't know if 30% is handled by train, because train is very much to like a distribution point more.
That's right.
Than an end user.
And does it? I don't think it includes stuff going through pipelines.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's it. But they talk about the trucking being necessary and all that. And,
well, it is.
And the illegals that were not reading, couldn't understand the signs, didn't speak English, and driving 80,000-pound rigs around the country caused problems. And we know people died because of it.
Well, and we've had a huge demand for truck drivers for decades.
We have. It hasn't gone away.
No, but we're also on the verge of, Elon Musk's Tesla is producing semis now, and they're selling
autonomous.
Them as,
potentially.
I think they're on the edge of autonomous. Some of them may be autonomous.
Yeah. Well, but I think they still have to have a driver while they're being autonomous.
Right.
You still have to have someone sitting there for now.
It's in a transitional phase. Right.
Do you know he's building his trucks purposely with no sleepers?
No, I didn't know that.
And that kind of surprised me that he would. They would say, "Look, these will not have sleepers in them."
Huh.
I wonder. Well, I know right now that the trucks that are being sold, and there are fleets of them already out there, are mostly like local delivery.
Well, and
they're not overnighters. They're not cross country.
Yeah, and that right now with range limitations and such. That is a great spot for electric semis.
But you see Pepsi and Coke drivers and beer haulers, those are tractor trailers, but they're not going a lot of miles. They travel from distribution and drop off. They drop off at Walmart.
My understanding is they might do a couple 100 miles a day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not many.
Exactly. And that's well within the range of what these electrical trucks can be charged again overnight and ready to go the next day.
500 miles is the range.
So
they're good for that. But if you're saying I'm going to go from here to Maine, we don't really have the infrastructure to charge it and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's building up. But part of the problem, and this is what President Trump is working on, and part of the initiative, is to beef up our electric production. With
rare earth minerals, right? From the basic raw material
electricity
to build batteries.
Production.
Oh, electricity. Okay.
So production of these mini nukes.
I've been reading more and more of those all the time.
All kinds of stuff that we're trying to do everything we can. We want to renovate coal plants that have been shut down for no real good reason.
They've already started, and it's going to explode in the next 2 years. You're going to see the benefits of this thing like crazy.
Well, and it makes perfect sense. I've You know, in a science fiction book I read probably 3 decades ago, and I thought this was correct. The measure of a society's advancement is how much energy it produces.
Well, definitely the boom for us,
And China now produces more energy than the U.S. and Europe combined.
yeah, but they also have more population. Or they got what?
That's true, but they've
1.2
been
billion or
building
something.
coal-fired plants like once a week for
I
years.
know, they have been. They're making the planet a
And
mess.
there's
What
a
are they
lot
doing?
of they are doing a lot of stuff, and we're at the point we're starting to play catch up with getting enough energy production. And you need that energy production for everything.
Yeah. Particularly if we want to get back at the shipbuilding, and China owns the shipbuilding market.
They do.
right now.
They do. There's some others, you know, but they're relatively minor players compared to China.
Speaking of shipbuilding, I just saw something that I was watching some video on how they're pulling over these tankers, these big oil tankers, ships on the sea.
Uh-huh.
Where they they say, look, we got a blockade, you got to stop. Apparently, these ships, as they change hands, they change names,
Yeah.
but there's something in the welding on the back of it that puts the original name in it.
Oh, interesting.
And the U.S. military can read that from a distance because it's permanent into the structure. So even if you change the name 10 times, they know the history of that ship, that vessel.
That's fascinating, and it
I don't
makes
know
sense
how-
that there would be a signature of sorts.
Yes,
I mean, because these huge ships are generally built to order.
but no, these are intentionally a signature. It's
put into the
it's
way
put
that's
into
welded.
the actual
Interesting.
welding. They weld the name on it to where you can see it. And I don't know if that's because of the density of the metal where the weld is, but they can
Well-
read it on the back of the ship with it. I've never heard of that. I don't know exactly how that works. But
Well, there'd be a lot of different, a lot of different sensor systems you could use. You know, infrared, microwave radar.
I get the impression this is not electronic. It's strictly weld.
Well, right, but I'm saying
structure.
you're
Yeah.
reading the structure is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So they'll change the name of the ship and paint a different name on it.
Well, and
Doesn't
it's
matter.
legally a different name. It's owned by a
Doesn't
different
matter.
owner.
They know
you
what it was, so they shot it
Well, it's
because the
yeah.
guys didn't stop.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's a big
Yeah.
problem. And these ships are the really large ones are $1 billion or more
Yeah.
each. Billion with a B.
And when they shoot the ship, it's not to sink it. It just does tremendous damage to the rear where the motors are.
Yeah, which is
And
very, very expensive.
And they just, well, I would imagine, because that's going to wipe out electrical. It's going to wipe out everything
Oh,
and wipe out that motor, but it will not break through to the hull and cause it to sink.
yeah,
And that's pretty a precise
It's a
deal.
very precise, a delicate balance. And what do you?
That sounds surgical versus just blow it up.
And my understanding is, at least the U.S. and probably others would tell the ship stop. Look, if you don't stop, we're going to put a round through the engine room. We're going to put a round through the engine room.
Do they not understand?
Evacuate the engine room.
Yeah.
We don't want to kill people. Get those people out of there. We're giving you 5 minutes. Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, this one that I watched said that there was nobody in the engine room when they did that, but they know where the engine room is because it has a smokestack.
Well, it's not just that. We probably have the blueprints for all these ships.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then form follows function. So a pretty good idea. But gosh, oh my!
Why would they want to get their engine
hate
room?
to think of what it would take to repair if you hit the engine.
That's going to be in dock for a while.
And then there's, do you hit the structure that actually moves the propellers? Or
it's all gone.
A lot of these ships, they have huge diesels, and some of them are diesel electric. They have electric motors as well as propulsion, and most of them would have something like bow thrusters, and it gives me a headache to think of the cost of repairing some of that damage.
It's going to be a lot. I want to finish up with these freedom haulers real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The freedom haulers. It says today approximately 25% of truckers have a military background. That's huge.
That's a significant. How many truckers are there?
I didn't know that.
Well, it's about what percentage of the population have military background? I think it's about 10%.
Is it that much? I figured it'd be
That's
less.
over the entire
Okay.
age spectrum. It's everybody from somebody who's you know, an E1 in basic training to retired admirals.
Sean Duffy, of course, the Secretary for Transportation,
Right.
says, my department's launched a sweeping crackdown to restore law and order on our roads. The GI Bill benefits and veterans readiness and employment programs can cover 100% of training cost to be a trucker, of course. Skill Bridge allows active duty service members to get a head start so they can start earning a paycheck on day one. And is that Skill Bridge that, like, I'm getting ready to retire, but I can retire, I can go work there early?
No, I think it's more like we will pay for your training while you're in training to get you up to speed, and then you're a regular employee.
But you still get your paycheck.
Right.
I think before you retire, don't you get a few months off?
It can
go work or something?
It varies
Okay.
a lot.
He says you can get a paycheck on day one. And on top of that, the federal apprentice programs offer housing allowance on top drivers' regular pay. We're also backing this campaign up with action, expanding the pool of veterans who are eligible for the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's military skill waiver, and even an exchange program. This means discharged service members will now have up to 2 years to apply their military driving experience directly towards a licensed driver reg. So,
now that's interesting
because these guys are driving, big equipment, heavy
well, they
equipment.
are. And I mean, there's a lot of skill that people acquire in the military that's transferable to the civilian sector. And, but I find that 2 years
After
window kind of interesting because it pretty much limits it to people who've been in service recently.
Right.
Or are just getting out.
But your skill levels, I mean,
well, you learn a lot of stuff, but skill deteriorates over time. I think
years may be right.
Frankly, for driving a big rig, if you have done that in the military, you're going to retain a lot of that for a long time.
But he says cutting the licensing process down from months to a few weeks.
Yeah, that's huge.
If Secretary Hegseth trusts you to drive heavy-duty tactical truck in active combat zone, the American people trust you behind the wheel of a big rig on Americans' roads.
Well, more than somebody who can't read the signs and doesn't speak English.
Yeah. I didn't get the training. There was a lot of that. Well, and it says, Duffy says, thanks to Trump's leadership in our new campaign, we've already got 9 additional states to join in. And that's something I didn't know. The states have to
buy in.
Sure,
because they're the ones that do the licensing. Now, there are federal requirements, but still the states
there's only 36 states that have bought in. Why not 50? I don't know.
Because there are a dozen or more states which are what I call scofflaws, and I'll bet you that I could name out of those 14 that haven't bought in. I bet you I could name 12 of them. I
bet you could,
because I know the ones that
they're just anti-Trump, ridiculous.
Right. Not only anti-Trump, but they're basically anti-Constitution, anti-rule of law, and I can name them because they're anti-Second Amendment.
Industry giant Werner Enterprises, a big trucking firm, has pledged to hire 1,400 military veterans and spouses in the next year.
Spouses
and troops into transportation school have trained over 18,000 veterans on bases nationwide. Now, I think Werner is just brilliant because, look, if you get someone with military discipline, some military training that knows how to get to work on time.
It's an important skill these days.
Of course.
I mean, I learned it when I was like 16,
Yeah, but not everyone in today's society has learned it.
Well, and I had to learn it though. I mean, I required an older woman. I think she was 17, and I was working in a little retail cooperative thing.
Tell you what on time meant.
And I was showing up and I was just hanging around the cash registers. They're paying you. Go find something useful to do.
Yeah. Good for them.
I took it to heart. She was right. I mean, older woman, she seemed older to me, a year or two older than me. And she set me right. It was good.
And Sean Duffy says, look, Trump was crystal clear. The radical left wants more jobs for illegal aliens and more migrants and 18-wheelers. And the Trump administration wants safer roads and more jobs for the American veterans. Good for him. And that's
sounds like a useful, good program.
It does. It does. I'm surprised 14 states says, nah, we don't want anything to do with that program.
Well,
it has Trump's name on it.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's Trump. We have to oppose it.
I know. Edward, my fact checker, sends me some information about a Texas Senate race. Rico, have you followed any of that?
Yeah, a bit.
He's kind of an oddball. I just think he's
I
as
mean,
weird as that
they're
Betos guy they put up
trying
there.
to promote someone who's pro illegal immigrant and anti-Second Amendment in Texas.
And
it doesn't make sense to me,
and-
but hey, if that's the person you want to run, go
Oh,
for
and
it.
he's anti-Christian, I think, from
Oh
some of
yeah,
what he
well,
talks about.
yeah, he says I'm an anti-Christian Christian.
Yeah.
I recall. That may not be an exact quote, but it was pretty close. I'm going,
And
what?
God is
What?
God is non-binary.
I don't know. What is that? What does that mean?
I don't know. He's an oddball, James Talrico.
He is.
But he says that he says his church has housed illegal aliens facing ICE deportation in recent, and that just recently surfaced.
Gee, does that sound like an admission of guilt?
Yes, it does. Knowledge of a crime, at least, if nothing else. And he said the church he grew up in once housed illegal aliens who were facing deportation by federal immigration authorities. He made those revelations.
Yeah, well, that's not as specific, you know.
No.
Once could have been 20, 30 years ago. Who knows?
But still, it's how you present it and what you talk about. Is he proud of it, or is he think, you know?
Yeah,
he knows better,
what he's saying is this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. He made his revelations in a 2023 appearance on a podcast.
Oh, well, that's years ago. See, it doesn't count.
No, it's 3 years. Come on, man. He's the same guy. He described his church as really active in LGBTQ rights in the 90s. And he went on to describe how we caught some attention by letting an atheist join our church in 2000. So he's proud of these things. He's bolstering.
Yes, he is. I think I go for it.
And he's running in Texas.
We want you to be honest about who you are and what you believe in. That's a virtue, even if you lose.
He said the politics involving the 10 Commandments in public school chaplain, school choice, restrictions on gender mutilation, procedures for minors, and the state's abortion laws were all examples of California Christo-fascism, which is what, Christian fascism.
That's what
he's calling it. Christo.
That's what he's calling it. Yeah,
Christo-fascism. He's a serious candidate.
He is. I believe he won the primary.
The Democrats love him more than they do Crockett.
I believe, will be running against former Attorney General Paxton, who's won the Senate primary on the Republican side. Paxton is pretty popular among Republicans, which are a majority of Texans. So Paxton I believe, is the odds-on favorite at this point. In Texas.
I think so.
And he would I think Cornyn lost the primary.
Yeah, he did. He's not a happy camper.
You know, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, he hates Trump.
The way it is. And I know that in the Second Amendment community, they were not particularly fond of Senator Cornyn.
Yeah, Edward also puts a note down here that former Syrian president Assad sentenced to death in absentia. A Syrian court sentenced in absentia ousted Syrian President Bashar Assad, along with his younger brother, to death on Tuesday for crimes against humanity and war crimes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they're probably legitimate. Syria
maybe, but Syria's even more confusing to me now.
Well, it had a civil war going on for quite a while. The Russians were involved. We were involved. The Islamic Republic's involved. You know, all kinds of. It's an extremely complicated and difficult situation to sort out. And a lot of it was exacerbated and caused essentially by the policies of Barack Obama.
What a good guy, that Barack Obama.
No, God works in mysterious ways. I mean, Russia is now out of Syria.
Right. Socialist winning streak is this next article. Of course, we got some elections going on today.
Well, yeah. Socialist winning streak inside Democratic primaries of the Democratic Party.
Because there's a conflict inside the Democratic Party. I think it doesn't get talked about a lot on some of the mainstream press. And there's conflict within the Socialist Party part of it. I didn't realize there were competing factions of socialists.
Yeah, they always are.
AOC mentioned that the other day because she was mentioned that she wasn't supported by the Democratic Socialists of America for president because of her stance on Israel or something. She didn't want to ban Israel. And she says, well, I'm not a member of that. I'm a member of the New York chapter of the Socialist Party. I didn't know there was a
Yeah, there's a lot of different
I didn't know there was a bunch of stuff going on. So they got more division than I really think. I mean,
Well,
I know they talk about,
it's not well unified. In my
but I've always seen the Democrats as totally unified. Maybe
yeah, I agree, and I have a theory as to what happened.
what's going on?
Well, it was the media, and that's speaking singular because for a long time there was essentially one ideological media in the United States. I think the peak was probably between about 1965 and 1994. And that media, which was in cahoots with what we call the deep state, especially the intelligence community, they kept a lid on unity within the left. And they defined what was acceptable and what wasn't. And that media power has decreased enormously in the last 40 years, since 94 to now. That's a little over 30 years. And it's decreased because the other media has increased. And, the internet is now very important in media. Social media is now very important in media.
It is.
Those things were not nearly as important prior to 1994. The internet was just fledgling in terms of popularity and availability before 94. I mean, I used one of the early predecessors of the internet called it was the military version of the internet, and I used email. Was introduced to email. No, not quite. I used it a little before down in Panama in '85, and so that was a predecessor of the internet. I'm saying there wasn't any internet to speak of before '94, not for wide use.
Mhm.
And there was Rush Limbaugh pioneered talk radio, becoming a conservative outlet, which he succeeded in large part because he met a demand for something other than the mainstream news, which was almost entirely ideologically progressive.
Right.
And so as alternatives to progressive media happened, conservatives found a voice, and they didn't have to be subservient to the old dominant media anymore. Well, that also applies to the left. And so now the left does not have people in the media in the deep state that are clear leaders and tell them what to do. So they're fracturing too.
Well,
That's my opinion.
It's starting to become noticeable.
Yes, it is. I
And-
mean, and they're fracturing. They're going to the very far left.
Right. Well, and you're starting to
DSA.
get some Democratic leaders speaking out against it. James Carville, for one of
Yeah,
them,
he's
saying like, "Look,
been-
we're losing it. We got to get rid of these socialists."
Yeah,
and
he
stuff.
said that, but
He's old and
well, I'm saying he's not as adamant about it as I'd like to see.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and because you look at some of the things he says they should do. I mean, like he says, and once we get in power, we got to make sure we get things right. We got to pack the court. We got to admit 2 more new states. We've got to.
That's all true. But he thinks.
I mean, those are radical proposals.
But he sees the socialist as stopping him from getting in power.
Right. It doesn't. He doesn't see that their proposals are bad. He sees their tactics are bad. He says they should lie better.
That might be true.
That's what I think. I see.
Because he wants to have a one world order as soon as he gets in by eliminating the chance of any Republican ever being elected.
Well,
again.
at least a one party US.
One party
system.
USA, yeah. The socialist winning streak, though, which I get, it's related to Mandani.
Yeah, that's true.
Al
I mean,
Sayed and stuff.
But it's socialist winning streak within
The
Democratic
Democrat
Party primaries.
Right. Now, this article doesn't specify good, bad, or indifferent, but I read a lot like some Republicans are celebrating, like, oh, good, because that's good for us. Now, be careful with that stuff. That's the same thing that the Democrats did when Trump won the primary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's the guy we want to go up against because he's the worst of the worst, and he'll never win.
That's correct. And there's a kind of parallel here.
Careful.
Back when they were trying to get the income tax constitutional amendment passed back around 1919 or 18 or
Okay, I
15.
don't remember that. Okay, that's
Yeah,
why.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And what happened is that there were a couple of Republicans who said, yeah, we can get a lot of credit. Let's push this national income tax. It'll never go anywhere.
Right.
And it went. And then they got it. Teddy Roosevelt was in favor of it, and it went. And now we're saddled with it. Maybe, I don't know, Trump might eventually try and reform it somehow.
Listener tell me it was 1913.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
you were
pretty
close.
Cool.
If we're playing hand grenades, you're good.
Yeah, what's his Wilson pushed it, I think, too.
Yeah,
Woodrow Wilson.
But they're talking about the winning streaks and Al Sayed, who barely edged out in the Senate primary in Michigan, and he's as radical as any of them.
He is.
Oh man, he's just nuts. And then he's the top tier Senate showdown in Minnesota, which will determine whether Democrats get control of the GOP.
Well, we have today. There is a primary in Wisconsin.
Yep,
and the leader
on the governor. You mean?
Yeah, for the governor's slot, the leader is a very far left socialist,
Francisca Hong.
Yeah,
and that's in Michigan.
You sure? Okay, maybe but there is one in Wisconsin, and I believe she is from Korea.
Yes, and she's a nut job.
I would say so. By my understanding of reality, she is.
Wisconsin. You're right. It's Wisconsin. This article says Michigan proved the working people are ready for something different. Wisconsin is next. That was Francisca Hong that said that,
and she is the candidate in Wisconsin, right? And my brother made a comment. She said she's a Korean and she's for communism,
big time.
And it's like, what? And I said, well, she must be from South Korea, and she said yes. So. I think she's from South Korea, and she apparently thinks North Korea has some good ideas.
Something interesting about Hong, though. I think that's the one that the Republicans are pouring money into to support her.
I have seen that on the reverse in several cases. That was done in Wisconsin for the Supreme Court justice, where the Democrats, a particular billionaire donor, I forget the name, poured money into the candidate they thought was the weakest for the Supreme Court race. And the Democrats then in the general election won by a landslide.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well,
you remember Rush Limbaugh did that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and said, hey, keep Bernie alive.
Yeah. I mean, it can come back and bite you, but it can also be an effective tactic. And I don't think I like the whole idea of primaries that are public elections. I mean, because they dilute the ability of parties to make choices.
Yes, the parties middle
parties
and the other
power.
Yeah.
The media gains a lot of power because the media has a lot more power in general elections than they do in party elections. And what's the point of having a party if the general electorate chooses your candidate?
Well, the Hong is backed by, and she's 37, by the way. She's 37 years old, very confident, and just says the stupidest things. Like she's the one that wants to cancel Thanksgiving.
I thought she wanted to do away with police.
It has to do with police.
Do away with the military.
She does.
And
she's trying to backtrack on it now. She's called for defunding police, abolishing police. But she no longer supports cutting police budgets or abolishing departments. I'm not defunding the police.
I don't believe in defunding the police until I'm elected.
Right. I'm serious. It says I'm serious about public safety. And it's AOC that come out and says that was woke one. Crazy woke one was all. We just said things.
Yeah, right.
About something. I don't know. But Elon Omar of Minnesota and Ro Khanna of California, two very progressives, they're backing Han, but AOC won't.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? Let's talk to Gilbert. Good morning, Gilbert.
Well, what she said last night was a problem that she did when she was doing all these clips. She gave her personal feelings and how she felt about things. And that was something that she should have never done.
She shouldn't give her personal feelings? What?
Yep.
Well, isn't that who we're voting for? Is her person, her as a person?
well, like Dean said, and look at her, see what she says. She's an idiot.
Oh yeah.
I don't agree. She has false perceptions about reality. So it's more of a mental problem than being an idiot.
I don't know which is worse.
Oh yeah, I don't know which is worse, but for the fact that she changed her mind on Thanksgiving, and even that wasn't working, so she came out with, I shouldn't have gave my personal feelings out the way I did.
Yeah.
Well, that gives her
It's like-
license to change her mind again when she's elected.
Yeah, right. You know, whatever.
Exactly. That's what the commentators were saying too.
Yeah.
That gave her, the right to change her mind when she got elected.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's definitely a dingbat for sure.
Yeah.
And the rest of them, that one with the red glasses we were talking about yesterday.
Uh-huh.
They interviewed her again, and she's really scary, really scary.
Yeah.
I mean, she just said, "Yeah, I believe in those. Yeah, I defund the police and all that."
That's Megan Romer is who you're talking about.
Yeah,
She's
yes.
co-chair for the DSA.
Yes, co-chair. She couldn't answer what a woman was, and she couldn't answer quite a few other things, but definitely was on. What are these people thinking that they could say stuff like that, possibly get elected, and wow.
But they, in their little bubbles, they're thrown up on shoulders as heroes, and they just don't understand. Well, why doesn't the right understand what I'm saying? Why don't they understand my nonsense?
Well, their view of reality is different than everybody
Yeah.
else's.
Yeah.
You know, they
But
view
they're right.
if we're socialists, we make everybody happy, and the world will be a wonderful place, and we'll run the world on unicorn detritus or whatever.
And stop throwing so many facts at me that just try to destroy me.
I mean, those aren't facts. Everybody knows that if we just tax the rich, everybody will be happy.
Yeah.
And she couldn't answer how to tax the millionaires, the billionaires.
Yeah, she
But
doesn't
what's
want to
really-
offend too many.
Right.
What's really funny to me is that these guys think if we can become a socialist country, they are going to be in the limelight. They don't realize that once they're through being used by the socialist government, they'll be tossed aside. They will be in prisons.
No, you're not wrong.
Because they,
You're not wrong at all.
I think you're mostly correct, but I think the mechanism is a little different. The most ruthless rise to the top. And these people probably aren't ruthless enough. And so when you have a socialist government, the ones who are ruthless and get rid of their enemies and throw them in prison are the ones who win.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. These guys are just stepping stones. And what happens, it happens. Now let's get back to, or let's segue into that black woman, the basketball player that talked about whiteness, white privilege.
Yeah, Dejanay. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm laughing because she's says something about white, but she has blonde hair. She has a blonde wig.
It's a blonde wig, yeah. She kind of
blonde,
weaves in there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a blonde wig.
Right.
And her statement
called cultural appropriation.
That's a good point.
But she I didn't take the guy's name, a sports writer talked about her and more or less telling her how stupid she sounded, and she retaliated with a long salad response.
Yeah. And she said, as soon as she was kicked out of the game for that, clotheslining that lady, she went right directly to the locker room and wrote white privilege on her social media. She said it was white privilege.
So she was claiming white privilege?
No, she says that's why she was thrown out. White privilege was used against her. She clotheslined a white girl.
Yeah, but then she said, "No, I didn't mean it like that. You guys just took it wrong on what I said."
Well, yeah, and now she's claiming. Well, I wasn't saying white privilege about what was going on in basketball. I was just saying that as a general statement about something else. Within 5 seconds of you getting thrown out, you said white privilege had nothing to do with that. Like you were in a different zone. She's just a liar. Is all.
Well, what's funny, I wish I would have recorded it, but she said, you don't know anything about me. You know, I went to school. I went to one of the greatest universities, blah, blah, blah. I think it was Stanford University.
Okay.
And her professor, she was blaming the way the professors educated them or educated her to think that way.
Well, that's not completely
I was
false.
going to say, I might buy that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
if they taught her that the world is run by white privilege, that could be a problem.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Of course, WNBA is not run by white privilege. In fact, they have like 20% white players in WNBA.
Right. Now, you and I were talking about those two basketball players that were wanting to get into the WBA, right?
All the men.
They're
Yeah.
doing it to
Oh,
test.
yeah.
We're going to test you now. We're going to test you.
I think they're
Yeah.
heroes myself.
Oh, I do too. I mean, they put now you're going to have to say what a woman is.
Yeah. Now they have to explain themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I like those T-shirts. XY not equal to XX.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm liking that. And one more thing, one more sad thing. You read about the teacher in San Luis that got busted for sex with students.
No.
San Luis, Arizona. Yeah,
Oh, no.
yesterday's paper.
No.
Yeah, he's a big man, but 5'3", 135-pound teacher.
Wow.
I don't know enough to comment. You know, I don't know anything about it. I mean, generally, our society is, for quite a while, said if you're in a position of power over somebody else, you shouldn't have sex with them. But
Especially if you're a high school teacher.
yeah, right,
and,
exactly. I mean, and then I just, you know, I'm thinking back to my own high school, which was over 50 years ago. And we had a chemistry teacher, great guy, Mr. Olson. I remember him. I really thought he was a great chemistry teacher. And he ended up marrying one of his students after she graduated. Just after, I think she was 18. He was probably like 23. And they had a very successful marriage for a long time. I think they still may be married if they survive this long. And had some children.
I'll tell you what, I was in love with a lot of my female teachers.
There you go.
That's far, you know.
I mean, from the male point of view back then, that would have been called lucky.
Oh,
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I mean, just the way, and men, frankly, are just tend to be more promiscuous than women. I think.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Women,
Okay, I knew that.
see, women are selective. Men are animals.
I think I tend to think that's a fairly correct view. But you know, times have been at different times in medieval thought. Women were thought to be the more likely to commit sexual, indiscretions.
It's because men were always out of town at war for months at a time.
Yeah, maybe.
Who
You
knows?
know,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought I'd just bring it up about that idiot Hong, and you know she is racist.
She is what?
Racist.
She's racist. Even though her child is half white, she's definitely racist.
Well, I think she's still confused on how to handle that. She still mentions that, like, I don't know how to think about that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, she doesn't know how to think about that.
Yeah.
So what was she thinking way back when? Did she get married to get money or what?
I guess she wasn't thinking.
Exactly. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a woman that's racist, but has a white son, half white, half Korean.
Maybe she doesn't like her.
Well, look at Barack Obama. You know, his mother was white.
Yeah.
And you know, so
he's tribally racist. Yeah.
Is he
tribally? Yes.
You know,
yes.
People tried to make this claim of, well, is he black or white or half and half? And frankly, I think we moved beyond that in the U.S. You know, there's a large percentage of our population is of all kinds of different races mixed together.
Many are trying to yank us back into it, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that's all they got. That's all they have, and a lot of the far right. That's all they have. That's all they have to go on. They just. Yeah. We just need to stay focused on what's happening today with destroying America. That's what The hell with Obama and his girlfriend, boyfriend, Michelle. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Well, I'm sure
This
he had
bitch is-
boyfriends, but let's not go there.
Yeah, I don't want to be there.
Yeah. I'm just saying that we need to deal with the socialism, communism that's creeping up, all the drugs that are still flowing into America, all the people that are destroying our races, the blacks selling drugs to the blacks, the browns, the whites, all that. We need to focus on that and get ourselves together.
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to move legally, at least, back toward a colorblind legal system. And I think that is something that is a good thing to move toward.
Well, Southern Poverty, what is that?
Law Center.
Law Center says that's racist to say that, you're
Colorblind
blind.
is a good thing.
Colorblind's racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
I don't think Martin Luther King would have agreed with that.
I know.
Yeah, we're just a laughing stock of the world right now.
I
We're
disagree.
really-
I don't think
Parts
we
of
are,
us.
but some of it.
Parts of us.
Trump has restored a great deal of respect for the United States in international affairs.
Yeah, but you see, this is America, and I can say stuff like that.
Yeah, you can absolutely, and you're free to do it. And
I'm glad you did.
We're glad that you're on the show. You contribute significantly.
All right, I'm
you,
going to
sir.
go after that one.
Take
I'll
it.
catch you guys later.
Bye-bye. Yeah, he's going to leave on that note. Yeah, that's
That's
a
a good
high
note.
Yeah. Speaking of Carrington, she writes, she said she was never linked the ejection that she got on the game to white privilege. She just wrote it on there as a general comment. She wrote it on her Instagram immediately.
Yeah. Well,
In fact, I heard one of the sports commentators says, look, she put it on there so fast, I would assume she had it in her pocket while she was playing.
well, she probably had it in the back of her mind.
Yeah.
I mean,
she's a liar.
Well, yeah, people are flawed.
And the Attorney General of, let me see, it's the Florida Attorney General, is threatening to charge her on that foul. Bring her up on threatens charges
because it
on
was so bad.
It was so flagrant attack. It was
assault. This is assault.
Yeah,
well,
it was assault.
If it's flagrant and it's on tape, I mean, everybody can see it.
And then just to add more controversy, like the WNBA doesn't have enough. The coach for the Fever, the coach for the girl that got clotheslined and thrown to the ground. She said she didn't think it was intentional, and she applauds Dejanay's play as being very aggressive. She said, I agree it's a flagrant too, but I don't think it was intentional. And she's just a tough player. She's really wonderful. She's a great player. And Caitlin is sitting right next to her. She never says that about Caitlin Clark.
Wow.
And Caitlin is just about ready to pass out from holding her breath.
Yeah, keeping her mouth shut.
Yeah, she does.
She
bites her tongue.
She's very smart that way. I think it's the right thing for her to do.
Yeah, she bites her tongue. That's why it's bleeding so much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
can't believe the Fever coach.
So is this is the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Association? I think that's right. So are they becoming sort of a hockey association where you watch the game looking for the violence?
Correct. I think you're correct. And I think the NBA was the same way years ago. Like when Jordan was in there and all that, the physical stuff was becoming ridiculous during that time. They went through that cycle and they've cleaned it up.
No, they should.
WNBA says we love it.
More attention to us, more money, more advertisers.
It didn't bring attention until Caitlin got there, really.
Caitlin bumped things up a whole nother level.
Yeah, people were their heydays when they first started. And then it drifted off. They did not build. They weren't building.
Right.
And then with Caitlin on there, they've more than doubled their entire attendance for the whole league.
Which is probably the most they've ever had.
Right. They went from flying commercial aircraft, regular commercial aircraft to games to now they can rent a private aircraft to fly to games, which is a huge step up for the players. Because that way you're not waiting in line for hours. I mean, it's just a big.
Oh, you don't have to go through all the security.
Yeah. And you do it so much that it really makes sense for a team to have their own plane.
Well,
just to
right.
just to keep the players relaxed, keep them together.
I think it does.
Yeah.
And they probably have to do a fair amount of traveling.
But they've got so many bad apples in there, and even the coach of the Fever that can't stand up for her own players, and they're all stuck in the woke, and the coach is gay, which I don't care about that, but she leans on that a little bit, and that's why I have to support all the other gays or support. I'm assuming she doesn't verbalize
Maybe,
it, but
yeah, it opens up potential conflicts of
yeah,
interest.
which her being gay is not a problem. It's that she doesn't support her teammates. She doesn't. I mean, her team players. She doesn't support the players, and she
It's not a winning way
no
to go.
no.
You know,
No, it's kind of crazy. What coach in any league of any game is going to see something like that where there was an assault on a player and not say something like it shouldn't happen at the least?
Well, exactly.
At the least,
I would
and
think
not say what a great player that person is that did this that beat up my player,
yeah.
and say it deserved a foul, but she just plays hard. That's all. That sounds more like she's saying that about her own player.
It does.
You know, like Alabama,
mean,
her own player. You know.
I think it's often a good tactic to promote or to compliment the other team because it maybe makes them they're not quite as they already think I'm great. I don't have to keep working so hard, type
Yeah.
of thing. But for fouling, that's not good because it degrades the whole game.
Well, it was an intentional clothesline that could have caused great damage.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's gonna be very dangerous.
obviously Stephanie Cunningham is in great physical shape, and she was able to avoid it. There's no guarantee she's not in. She got a busted lip out of it. Was the worst thing. She was bleeding out of the mouth.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, those are relatively minor injuries. If it had been a few inches lower, if it had caught her on the throat, that could have been real serious.
Well, it was on the throat I think when she got thrown to the ground. In fact, there's a picture of her.
Well, yeah, you see, it's
and her good foot off the ground when that happens.
Look at the size of the. I mean, it's complete engagement.
Right on the throat, and there was and she wasn't. She said I was going for the ball, which if you watch the film, no, she wasn't.
Right.
In fact, that was her opposite arm. The right arm was supposed to be going for the ball. She took that. She jumped up with her right arm and she used that left arm to hook around the throat. Which was just intentional.
Oh, that's a heck of a picture.
Yeah, and I don't think you and I would do as well as Sophie did. I
No,
think she's more athletic.
Well, and we're a little older.
Yeah. And keep in mind, she was shooting the basket at the time.
Yeah, so
her hands
attention
and
is
focus,
all up
and
there.
she was a foot off the ground and jumping, so she came down on her, not on her feet.
Yeah, wow,
really?
Yeah, I mean, and basketball court floors are hard.
Yeah, and the players fall a lot. Just a normal play, they fall a lot.
Yeah,
but not like that.
Well, right. I mean, it's one thing to be prepared for a fall, and another is to be by surprise knocked back.
Well, and they claim it's no different than what Cunningham did to a player a few weeks ago. And true, a lady was going up for a basket, and Cunningham more like put a bear hug around her and pulled her forward, which not to injure.
But that's also a fall, isn't it?
It's still a fall. One that she's controlled and can use her hands and all that stuff. And she did it intentional, flagrant to foul. She got ejected. Intentional, as she deserved. It was intentional.
Right.
But it wasn't intentional to harm.
Right. No, in this
she wanted to make a point.
Right.
She did it gently, such a thing.
Well, I mean, that type of engagement from the front with both arms is a lot different than from behind with one arm on the neck.
Oh my gosh, yes. Let's Gilbert's calling back. What's up, buddy?
Okay, I think you're missing part of the problem here. She is probably siding with all those women that's saying it's okay for men to go and play basketball, transgender, because that's what Caitlin's always talking about.
What are you saying?
We don't want men. I'm saying that.
Who is she? The coach is siding.
That's siding with men playing, boys playing in girls' sports. And is that Caitlin? The white chick that got Clothesline?
She
Okay.
hasn't made a
See,
comment one way. There was Sophie Cunningham that said it shouldn't happen. Of course, that's the
right.
girl
No,
that was involved. That was the girl that got clotheslined. Was Sophie?
right. The
Yeah.
one, Sophie that got clothesline.
Yeah.
Well, the coach, and I watched the video. Did you watch the video?
Yes, man. It was rough. It was a rough
It
tackle.
was rough, and she was, you know what? She should have spoke up. It's okay to be quiet, but her coach was supporting the opposite team member.
Yeah, supporting the
Yeah.
aggressor, which is the
Yeah.
opposite team, and saying
Yes.
Dejanay's a great player, and she just plays real
Yes.
physical. I expect her to be physical.
Yes,
What?
but what I'm getting at is this coach probably supports boys and girls sports.
She does. She definitely
and,
does.
and that's why she said what she said, because
I
the
think
girl
you're.
that
I think you're right.
clotheslined-
I think you're right.
So what you're saying, Gilbert, is she puts her ideology ahead of her game.
Yes. And she supports
Uh,
boys in the girl sport. She's gay herself. She has a wife. She's a lady that has a wife, which is she doesn't bring it in a lot. It doesn't matter. But she does. I'm LGBTQ supportive. I'm diversity supportive and all that. And Cunningham actually came out a few weeks ago, 6 months ago, but it just got released a few weeks ago. That, oh no, I think I protect girls. I don't think boys should be in the league. I protect girls. And it was casual. It wasn't like aggressive. She's not an activist. She was asked the question by a
Yeah.
reporter.
so we can actually say she supports that mentality over the safety of her own players. She
Correct.
should be fired.
Correct.
She should be fired.
Correct on that too. I would think whether she's a good coach or not, I don't care. That ideology's caustic and not good for the league.
Very,
Yeah.
very, very. I thought I'd just call you up and relay that. And also, don't forget Saturday, August 15th, at Izzy's restaurant,
Yeah.
we are having a meet. Darren Simmons is going to be talking to us. So if you have any questions, come out and ask those questions to Darren Simmons. I'm sure he'll answer them.
All right,
So
buddy.
thanks a lot for allowing. Bye.
Thank you, man. Take care, buddy. Bye bye.
Oh yeah, isn't there a big candidate, presentation going to happen on the 7th of September too, or
Yes.
around then?
Yes.
Because and it's
Scott Jennings.
I need to get a ticket for that.
Well, everybody does.
Oh well, so I'm too late. You're saying?
No. You're not too late. I think everybody needs to sign up now before they get sold out. In fact, let me look that up. Scott Jennings thing.
So we've got the
It's on the 7th, and you're exactly right.
August 15th at Izzy's. So that's a presentation coming up where we get some good information, and then the 7th of September.
An evening with Scott Jennings, September 7th. Doors open at 5, 6 to 8. And the programs begin at 6.
Yeah, but the meet and greet is just fascinating.
Oh,
these things.
it's just much more than that, because we're going to have the Senate president there, Warren Peterson, and he just
won for the primary for Attorney General, right?
Yeah, he's going to be there speaking. The next governor, Andy Bigg's going to be there speaking. The next lieutenant governor, Sina Kerr, is going to be there speaking.
I mean, it's almost all. I think there's only a couple statewide candidates that aren't going to be there. I don't think anybody from the
Les Presmick.
Yeah, I want to talk to him.
He's the mine guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's currently in the mine,
and he's the candidate who's been running for mine inspector as well.
Yeah,
but I don't think we have the what is it? The commission that handles all the industrial affairs, energy and all that.
Corporation
Commission.
No,
I don't think they're going to be there, but
No.
there's hardly anybody else.
We don't have enough room for everybody.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, and where's this going to be?
It's going to be there on 32nd Street at the Elks Lodge.
Okay.
1917 West 32nd Street, Elks Lodge.
I don't think that's a very big room.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? Okay.
I've worked that room before.
Okay.
We're going to be a couple hundred
maybe I
people
haven't
in
been
there.
there. Huh?
Yeah, and you can. I don't know what the current details on what seating's available, but there's individual seats, or you can buy a table, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
All available. And me see if I get the details on how you get that ticket. YumaGOP.com. Go into YumaGOP.com. That's the website, and it'll direct you.
You know, a lot of
on getting a
places
ticket.
there isn't any paper ticket anymore. They just have it on electronic format, and you show up and
Usually,
there's
now,
what's
most
your
cases.
name? Oh, yep.
I
you. Go in.
I prefer that. I lose tickets.
I think I have found that I don't even bother with trying to print out a ticket anymore for airlines. I just, confirm it, and you have a confirmation number.
your
take
phone.
a picture of that on my phone.
What happens if your phone dies?
Oh, then I use my camera, which I also took a picture from as a spare. I mean, seriously, that's what I did. I'd have those two as backups. And if you just show your ID, they'll look it up. I mean, it's getting so that if just show an ID and everything is recorded.
I still think it's too cumbersome. I think they should just do facial recognition. Say, hey, Dean, how are you? Come on in.
How about some little mark you could put on your back of your hand?
Okay, now you're just trying to be ridiculous. I was being sensible.
A little chip.
I was being sensible.
You were.
And you're trying to be, biblical.
Well, there are places where supposedly in China now they'll scan your palm, and the palm print is unique enough that they will
like a fingerprint.
Yeah, that they will use that.
Would that be the mark of the beast?
I would not consider it to be so, but because it's a little different. But I mean, I find Revelation to be very, very full of visions and analogies, and so it's hard for me to figure out exactly what everything is.
I spent I think this is where I heard this, but I spent the weekend, a big part of my weekend at church on a prayer seminar on how to pray and prayer and all that, and of course there was some sermon type stuff along with it, and I think this is where I heard this, but the speaker said that reading Revelations and stuff when they first become Christian and Christian oriented was scary, and not wanting to read that kind of stuff. And it may have been someone else, but that was but now it's not scary at all to read Revelations. Of course, a lot of that is talking about end of times type stuff, but
exactly, and all of that is heavily studied and heavily disputed.
Of course.
And what does this mean? What does that mean? How do they come together? How do the prior books fit in?
It creates a lot of conversation.
Huge amounts.
Yeah, of course it does. Edward sent me something here. It says Republicans, yourself included, saying, and now see, I don't know if that's a compliment.
Why would you consider one? It's just a fact.
It's just okay. Well, he's emphasizing, have spent years calling the Democrats socialist crazies. Ridiculous, unbelievable, nonsensical, occasional things that would cause a respectable dictionary to ask for hazard pay. Okay, it wasn't positive, I don't think.
Well, that was a nice turn of phrase on his part, I thought.
There is only one small problem. These alleged insane people keep winning elections. It's true. Some of them have. That's
some
true.
have.
That's true.
Yeah, it is a problem, but it seems to be mostly a problem in certain places.
And I haven't read the rest of it yet, but I suppose Edward's given us a caution.
Well, and it's reasonable to be cautious,
which I agree with.
Yeah,
because, and like I said early on, I don't like it when I'm cautious when I hear Republicans are supporting one of the radicals, thinking that that's going to cause them to lose. Be careful when you do that. So the GOP's current strategy seems to be this. When the other fellow proposes a plan, point at him and shout, "That's crazy." I think that's more the left, isn't it? I don't know.
You see it on both sides.
Very good. Then what? Rent is still due Tuesday. It's a good point. What is your plan? I think the Republicans have much more of an economic plan.
I think we have a very straightforward economic plan.
Promote
prosperity, reduce taxation burden, reduce regulation,
and
increase the energy supply.
And Trump gives specificity to that also. Right. He says groceries still cost what appears to be a gross domestic product of Belgium. True.
In Belgium.
And a lot of that has to do with, Biden raised it by 21%, the inflation.
Inflation is pretty much a one-way ratchet.
Yes, it is. It's a ratchet up. Healthcare remains priced as though the doctor is personally flying in from Switzerland. And somewhere a voter is staring at two candidates. One says here is my plan. The other says his plan is idiotic. I think that comment is fair, and it's a good caution.
It's
It's
a
a great
cautionary
caution.
note. I don't think that's what the Republicans should do, and
I don't-
some
I don't think
do
that's
maybe.
I don't think that's wholesale of what's happening.
I don't
But-
think so either.
But voter naturally says, "Fine, what's your plan?" And too often the answer seems to be, "Did you not hear me? I said he was idiotic. It's not a replacement policy."
That's not a policy. Yeah, your
Yeah.
opponent is idiotic. Is not a policy.
Policy. It's barely a conversation. If a man's roof is leaking and one fellow asks him a question, offers him a questionable bucket while the other stands in the rain explaining the buckets are socialism. Do not be that's an exaggeration, but do not be astonished when the homeowner takes the bucket.
Especially if it's a binary choice.
Yeah, that's a Republican problem in miniature. People will frequently choose, and I think he's right to a degree on some of it. He says people will frequently choose an imperfect answer over no answer at all. They may even choose a bad plan over political party whose principal contribution is explaining a considerable volume that everybody else is stupid. Insulting or entertaining plans are useful. And when voters are worried about rent, food, wages, healthcare, and their parents' future, useful has an irritating habit of beating entertaining. I will tell you, a lot of our conversation of talking about what's happening currently does focus on bad planning. I mean, some of the bad, ridiculous stuff. And we can't help it, Dane, when I see the social program and says, let's defund all police. Do I have to tell him my plan is to fund police?
I agree. I think that Edwards,
I think
the way he's described it is sort of a straw man argument.
Well, I think it's reality that people actually think that way.
Well, some of that happens,
Some of it's
but
gonna happen.
mostly I see Republicans having very specific and positive plans.
Well, but absolutely they do. Particularly Trump. Trump is very specific, and he picked. And a lot of people are dissecting, like, how could he win? How could he win? Well, because all his plans make sense, and the Democrats,
and they're working.
And the Democrats didn't really have one. He was very specific about what it was. He wanted to bring more business into town. He wanted to raise the tariffs. He wanted to shut off the border. He wanted to eliminate the illegals in town and up the ice, work with the border patrol,
have veterans drive trucks instead of illegals.
He wanted to bring back manufacturing, particularly on sensitive items like national security things, like building batteries and chips and all that. Multitude. And we talk about all of them, but I think some people are going to hear just the point where we say they're crazy. And maybe that's because we spend more time on the crazies.
Well, it's hard not to. It makes good theater. I mean, it's good. It's good radio to talk about how a candidate for governor in Wisconsin wants to defund the police.
Yeah. Oh no, I think Edward's right to point that out so that
it's a caution. I think it's a good caution.
So speaking of that, let's talk about some of the crazy stuff Mandani wants to do. Which he is. And I like pointing some of the stuff out that we know doesn't work and is true to time that has never worked.
Right.
And that's not a plan. And I guess we need to say, I think what Edward's saying is put forth a plan, which I think that's, I guess we consider that self-evident that you and I have.
I think that is a thing,
but maybe not all listeners do.
That's right. I think you have to explain the details.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna see. I want to see what I got here. That's not just complaining about stupid. Most of it is.
Well, explaining what's being done that's stupid is often more interesting than saying, let's make sure the police have enough money to run and the police are respected in our communities.
Well, and Edward says one's entertaining. I'm responsible for entertainment. So
this is right.
I got to do that a little bit. He's right, though. We can't lose sight of that. And I can't say it's anymore in case he accidentally records it. I don't want to be seen recording that he was.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I don't
Oh.
want that on my
Well, I mean,
resume. or
obviously,
something.
Edward is very intelligent.
So he's going to be right occasionally, is what you're saying.
So,
Yeah.
right, even if he has some perceptions
Like
that
a
may be
blind squirrel.
wrong. No, I'm not quite saying that. It's just that we all are subject to our assumptions about reality, and they're hard to change.
He listens very analytically, though. I mean, he does.
I think so. Generally, he
and
does.
he
He likes to play devil's advocate too.
though for sure, and he's sarcastic.
Yes, right.
Air Force One. Do you remember when Trump was in Turkey and there was that controversy?
Yeah,
about
I remember that.
Iran was going to shoot Air Force One out of the sky.
Well, I don't think it was Erdogan that was going to do it necessarily.
No, Iran, not Erdogan.
Oh,
Iran.
But there was a potential security threat they were concerned with.
That they took seriously.
Well, you should.
In fact, we saw him take off the older blue aircraft, because that aircraft was built to be Air Force One, and it probably had more installed anti-whatever devices.
Whatever. We saw what appeared to be him to take off.
Yeah, but it was a ruse.
That's why I said that. Yeah,
it was a ruse. I didn't know that.
Gee, our security.
Did you already know that?
I read it this morning.
Okay, good.
But I mean, gee, our security people are competent. Who would have thought it? Duh. We hire some of the best, and they use their heads. Not all the time, we had 2 assassination attempts that came way too close.
The only people that were in danger was the media and lesser staff members, and that's okay.
Oh man, you have this. I don't want to go there. I mean, there's these old jokes about lawyers at the bottom of the ocean and all that, and I don't agree with that. And the idea that we would, have 100 or 200 members of the media shot down in a plane, not good.
No, we're not going to celebrate, but I thought it was funny.
It's a little funny.
Look, here's what happened. It became known that there was a military threat that they were after Trump and from Iran, and there was a possibility they were going to target Air Force One. So they took the brand new aircraft that we got from Qatar and developed into an Air Force One and left it parked in Europe somewhere, and they brought in the older, little bit shorter Air Force One that's been around for 40 years or something.
Right.
And that does have some anti-missile stuff in it, supposedly, or some more safety features. And say that Trump's going to get on this one, and then everybody got on it, the press and everybody got on, and they said you got to close the windows before we take off for security, which is weird, but that's what they told him, and that's what alerted the press. Like, what's different today? I mean, this is weird. And what happened in reality is Trump was not on the blue plane. He was seen boarding the blue plane. He walked up the stairs of the blue Air Force One, and then went out the cargo side down into one of the cargo
where there wasn't any camera coverage.
No cameras, but he went inside one of those cargo things that hauls cargo. And they took that cargo truck then over to.
So they weren't taking any chances.
No,
he was completely out of sight the whole time when he left.
They took it over to an Air Force C-32A, which is a modified Boeing 757 on the other somewhere away.
Big plane.
And they lifted the cargo thing back up, and he went back on without anybody noticing.
See, this is great tradecraft, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's great. And so, but he not only himself went into the cargo plane, he brought his small team of close aides.
And yes.
So which list do you want to be on? The one that stays in
well, I want to be with President Trump.
I want to be on that list. Yeah. The one that's going to get the escorts and all of that.
I mean, it maybe makes you more of a target, but you get better protection.
Well, and what happened was, I guess, the press never knew it at the time.
Well,
we would have read this a long time ago.
If they knew it, it wouldn't work.
The press was on the decoy plane.
Yeah. It reminds me of an old story, supposedly about after the Japanese had shelled some American cities, and we were concerned at the beginning of World War II that they'd get bombed. They developed camouflage for industrial plants. And you had, I think it was Lockheed, but I could be wrong, big aircraft facility in Southern California, not very far from Hollywood. And supposedly one of the people in Paramount or someplace like that went to this camouflage people and said, we want camouflage for Paramount. And they said, well, we're sorry. You know, the way we work our camouflage, every site we camouflage has to have a decoy site.
Yeah.
And Paramount's the decoy. Funny story. I don't know if it's true.
I may not be. I hope not. Edward likes Paramount.
Yeah.
There we go. Don't want to do that. Now, you know, when the president's on an airplane, it's called Air Force One. Doesn't matter which airplane.
Yeah. Okay.
You could take airplane. You could take a small
the call
Cessna,
sign would be that. Right.
Air Force One. Well, the Legacy plane that they put the media on did not give its call sign before taking off. As soon as when they got into the air mid-flight, they opened up and said the call sign's Air Force One. So they were a decoy, and they still identified as Air Force One. And once you identify Air Force One, maybe they looked out the window to see if the missiles were coming. I don't know. I don't know.
You know, I mean, they've got a lot of top grade stuff on that plane
for protection, and I'm sure they had some other planes in the air for scanning and
it's
looking.
very possible.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. I mean, they weren't going to throw the media out there to be shot at unless they had some protection.
No,
they would have afforded the president.
I don't think so.
Well, Trump, then he stayed on the C-32A all the way to England, landed before the decoy jet. And it is unclear how Trump transferred from the C-32A. So there's no pictures or anything getting off the C-32A. But at 10:56, he appeared before cameras and descended the Legacy aircraft stairs. They slipped him back onto the.
I mean, that's just fantastic. I'm surprised. I'm a little surprised the story has gotten out.
Yeah, who would have released this?
I don't know, but I mean, it does cause problems for your adversaries.
Well, see, it puts the food handlers in danger because the next time they take that food handling truck to the next airplane, someone might shoot at it.
But you see, the problem is if you become so uncertain as to where your target is, you don't shoot.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of shooting if it's not him?
Take them both.
Well, but that gets into problems. I mean, these things are dangerous operations, and then you compromise your own security.
They put him back on the blue plane so he could walk down the stairs as if he was on it all along.
I think that,
and then this article comes out and blows the whole thing up.
Well, I'll bet Trump was just having a great time doing the whole thing.
Well, you know, I thought something was odd about him when they got onto the 747-8, which is the new Air Force One, the red one.
Yeah,
and the press was asking them. And it showed him on TV. His press was asking him, well, why do we have to put the windows down when we took off in Turkey? And he said, well, it was for security. You know, we're kind of a target. And if I go, you go. You may want to think about your job and whether it's secure. You know, actually, if the blue plane got shut down, Trump would have been fine
in that case. Yeah. Right? In that particular,
but the press didn't know it. They would have blown it up. And I'm wondering now.
Well, I mean, here's a question for Iran. Would they really want to destroy all this American media?
Oh, God, that's her friends.
Yeah. I mean, you know, not only do you miss the president, you destroy a bunch of your friends.
Yeah. Wonder what the media is going to say now that they know all this. Are they going to be outraged that they were put up as decoys?
Some will.
I'm wondering if that's going to hit.
I think some will. It's a question of how.
Like, how dare you? I should have been on the plane with the Trump and had better security.
Maybe some.
Maybe I'm kind of curious where that's going to go.
It's a difficult position for them to be in.
And I'm sure the blue plane was covered like it always would be.
Right.
You know, they're going to protect it like they always do.
But they were used as pawns. And I'm sure they don't.
Here's exactly what Trump told him. He said, you're probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with. In Iran and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I found this story to be humorous. I thought it was great.
I find it to be interesting and fascinating and maybe a little humorous and wonderful tradecraft.
Stephen Chung, he's the White House director, communications director, said the Air Force One is a state-of-the-art aircraft that has been fitted with high-level security protocols that ensure the safety of the president and his staff. As the president, well, then why'd they take him off it and put him on a regular cargo plane? No, decoy. As the president has said recently, there are so many enemies of America, we have our sights on him, and we use every tool at our disposal to address those threats. The aircraft is safe, secure, equipped with the most advanced technologies necessary to meet the requirements of the presidential mission. Those requirements were carefully crafted to prioritize mission over aesthetics, leaving much of the previous head of state interior laid out minimally changed. No risk was taken in security, safety, or mission communications, but the collaborative team made trades on some of the less commonly used missions sets that Boeing must deliver to support over the next 40 years. I don't really understand the reason for his comments. Is he trying to hit off the press saying, you put me on an unsafe plane?
Well, maybe he's kind of bragging about American technology.
I don't know. Well, that would be fine. Yeah, we can brag about that. That's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind all that. And you read that story this morning. That's good.
I read, yes, I read the story, but probably not that article.
Okay. That was a big surprise. I like being surprised occasionally. That's fine.
Well, like I said, I'm kind of tickled. To me, like I said, it sounds like people are using their heads and taking security seriously.
Yes.
Which did not seem to happen when Trump was a candidate.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's a wonder Butler wasn't successful.
It was literally a centimeter away from disaster.
And that is a lack of wanting to protect, I think.
I think so. I think it was a deliberate policy decision by the Biden administration.
Yeah, we're not going to protect him.
Or we're going to
appear to protect him.
Make it an appearance, but, kind of put the grade B team in charge.
Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey. She just signed a new act yesterday, a new law, a new law that she's so proud of. It's called the Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act, which means you can give abortions right up to birth.
Yeah.
And
she's proud of it.
Well, very proud of it. It's funny. It doesn't say abortion to birth care act. It says prioritizing patient access.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Mara, but she's been a very effective politician.
Yeah.
She's stayed in power. She's climbed the ladder.
Did you see the video of her signing it?
No.
She was surrounded probably by 2-3 dozen women that were smiling ear to ear and clapping like the best thing in the world just happened. Clapping for abortions to birth.
Yeah.
That's not how they put it.
No,
they put it different.
Effect.
They put it that healthcare workers will have greater discretion in determining whether to perform an abortion later in pregnancy without facing legal penalties under the state's previous restrictions. Because like many states that have legalized abortions, of course, there's limitations on that.
Right. Almost all states have had some limitations.
Yes. And countries.
True.
Now Massachusetts can can align themselves with a few countries that allow it. Australia allows abortion to birth. Canada, China, Guinea, Mexico does. South Korea, Vietnam. And that's it. Nowhere in Europe can you get an abortion to birth.
And that was my understanding, is that European have fairly strong limits on abortion.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't outlaw it, but they have strong limits.
So there's just a few countries that allow the procedure.
I was surprised North Korea wasn't on that list.
Just South Korea.
Yeah.
North Korea needs babies. I don't know. Are they overpopulated, North Korea?
They have problem feeding their population.
They have problem feeding it, yeah.
But the problem is mostly because they have such adverse, incentives for people to do anything. They're this totalitarian regime that puts most of its money into the military.
Yeah. You got to have priorities.
Well, you you have to say that the North Korean aristocracy, I guess, because the current leader is the son of the previous leader, it's worked for the leadership in a sense that they have stayed in power and they have great wealth. But wow, it's to me, it's a very precarious situation for the leadership and for the country as a whole. Because when people find out how much they are lied to, they go, wow, I had no idea. But the lies are very effective at present.
On this abortion thing with Mara Healy, keep in mind, Massachusetts abortions were legal in Massachusetts.
Right.
Just they had a time of like 24 weeks or something. But she says, we believe that healthcare decisions should be made between a woman and families and their doctors, not politicians. Abortion will remain safe. It will remain legal, and it will remain accessible here in Massachusetts. That's my commitment to you. Now, it was already legal. It was already available. It was already safe. This just didn't do any of that. This just said we can do it up until nine months pregnancy. You can do it up till birth.
Till birth, right?
Which
is like, if we have any limitation,
and
we have to get rid of it.
She's happy. Massachusetts now joins Alaska, Colorado, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Vermont in removing the age limit on abortion.
Wow, there's that many states that have no age limit?
That I was surprised. I didn't know.
Wow.
Haley says we intend to stand with women, which means they're not standing with children. The bottom line for people in Massachusetts, if you care about women's health, if you care about making sure that women are able to access the health care that they need in consultation with their doctors, should be clear. I stand with women. My opponents do not.
That's kind of like a reversal to the Roman, law.
Well, it's like they were so elated. I mean,
well,
they're just clapping like we just did the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Now, there were already in Massachusetts law, there was a limitation, but there was also exceptions for health and stuff. Like if there was complications, limitations. There's nothing new there, I think, from what I'm reading, other than you can now do I've changed my mind. I don't want a baby type move versus.
It's hard. I mean, I have
tough.
read a lot of statutory stuff. And it's amazing how much you find out when you read very, very carefully. But it's hard to do because, you're reading along and it says, except for as in statute such and such. And then you got to go to that statute and figure out what it says and integrate it into what was already there. And so I haven't read the statute, so I'm unwilling to say it means exactly one thing. But it sounds like the people who have read it are saying that's what it means.
Well, yeah, that as long as you get a doctor to agree with you.
Well, usually if you hunt around, you can find a doctor that will agree with you.
Yeah. Pro-life America President Marjorie Dannenfelser commented, it should shock the conscience that tens of thousands of unborn Americans are barbarically dismembered limb by limb, torn apart every single year. Sadly, that number will only increase with Governor Haley's approval of the abortion up until birth bill. The GOP must abandon the leave it to the states position, a stance that permits egregious late-term abortion laws like this one, and advance national protection for unborn children. I don't know, Dean. I mean, I don't.
Well, it would require a constitutional amendment.
I don't like the abortion to birth. Am I going to put that in front of everything? I don't know.
I just
see if you did that, then that's all you would be defined as, and that's not.
We can't. We can't do it by statute at the moment because the Supreme Court has said it's not a federal power.
Correct.
So it belongs in the states.
That's how Roe v. Wade got
exactly
dismembered.
You can fight it state by state, but there are a fair number of states out there, and it's a popular issue for a fair number of people. And so if trying to get a national standard, I think, either requires a huge change at the Supreme Court, which I don't think is going to happen for a while if we maintain our republic, or a
constitutional
constitutional
amendment.
amendment.
I think
which
that's the only way.
Just don't think it has much
And-
chance of passage
And
at the
if,
moment.
and if that's what the GOP became, and that's what they championed, and that only to make it a constitutional, I think everything else goes away. We're not going to help with groceries. We're not going to be helping with taxes. We're not, at least we'll be seen as that.
it could be.
Yeah,
It could become just a plank in the GOP, platform. I don't know if it would, but the anti-abortion movement is not, the pro-life movement is not going away,
no.
and they are powerful and they're organized and,
Yeah.
and they have been, and they basically won with the Roe v. Wade being shown as unconstitutional. That's what they aimed for decades and decades and decades. And that happened, and now they're saying, well, it didn't work out the way we wanted.
Yeah. I think it was right. It was bad law, and it shouldn't have been
Oh, it
there
was
in the first place.
absolutely the
whether it worked
correct-
out or not is immaterial.
It was
should
the
be.
correct constitutional
consistent.
interpretation. I believe
Yeah.
that to be the case.
And every state has their own opportunity.
Right. And so we now have the laboratory of the states.
Yep.
We can look at, and people can decide.
I think we leave it alone for now.
I think
I know this
for a while.
This Marjorie would love to have it as a
Well,
program to go after another
you just
constitutional program, but
I think it's a bad idea to try to introduce federal legislation, because I think it's just not, under the clear case in the Supreme Court, it's not constitutional. So the only real potential is a constitutional amendment, and I could see an attempt to get it's kind of like the Equal Rights Amendment or
That's
the prohibition. It might build over time.
mhm. But how much energy do you put in that? That's going to be a distraction from everything else.
Well, I would say the people who are committed pro-life, that's probably where they should be putting the energy, is what I think.
No, I don't disagree with that. But this Marjorie goes on to say, without a minimum standard, the United States remains one of only 8 countries worldwide that allows abortion at any point of pregnancy. We must do all we can to turn the page on America's ugly chapter of late-term abortions. I feel it. I understand her. I do.
Yeah, she has. I mean, the argument's understandable.
Yeah.
But we have limited government in the United States. We've been trying to restore limited government for decades. We've had success.
Right.
The reversal of Roe v. Wade is one of those major successes. And so now she seems like, well, maybe we shouldn't have, or I just think this calling for a national standard effectively means we have to get a constitutional amendment for it, and that's what she should say.
One of my listeners, when we were talking about Francisca Hong,
Oh yeah,
I think we said she Asian or something. Yeah,
I think
obviously.
she's Korean.
Points out was born in Wisconsin. I would guess she's American, not Korean.
Well, that's interesting, because I could be wrong. I mean,
no, I don't.
She might be ethnically Korean.
Yes.
But I was told she was born in Korea, so I could be wrong.
I don't know, but one way or the other, if she's ethnically Korean,
I
that's
think she is a U.S. citizen, but I think she may be naturalized. We should find out.
it wouldn't be hard. Maybe she's American, maybe not for MAGA. She's probably not for MAGA.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that.
She's probably against everything MAGA stands for.
And I'm pretty sure she's American. I don't think she could be a non-American citizen and running for governor in Wisconsin. I don't think that's plausible. But she could certainly be a naturalized U.S. citizen who originally came from Korea. Let's find out, so that if I made an error, we can correct it.
Well, she would still be Korean without.
She'd be ethnically Korean. Yeah.
She was born in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
Oh well, then I was wrong.
1988.
Okay.
But daughter of a South Korean immigrant, so she's Korean culture, I guess. Korean descendant.
Yeah.
And that's when people talk about the Somalian communities, I imagine a lot of them were born here, but
Well, right. I mean, we talk about people of German ancestry that were born in the U.S. too.
Yeah.
Lots of different Irish, Scottish, English. There's all the Europeans, then there's all the indigenous tribes that were here before the Europeans came. People from other continents, lots of Asians and Africans and
I got a
South Americans.
I got a comment from another listener that happens to work with Edward.
Oh, interesting.
Well, there's people that work with Edward that do all the work that Edward gets credit for.
And you know this person?
I do.
Okay.
Carrie says, do the world a favor. Stop using the phrase, Edward is right.
Well, should we be using the phrase, Edward is left?
No. I think that's hilarious.
I like this guy already. Or person.
No, Carrie lady, right? Young lady.
A woman. Okay.
A woman. That was. Is
she insinuating Edward has an ego problem?
No, she just knows it for a fact.
She's letting us know.
Yeah, it's not healthy to say he's right. But she's been Edward's conscience and right hand for many years, and she's now part-time.
Okay, well, I should pay attention.
So she went from 24/7 to like 24/6. Done watching things. Okay. She lives in Australia.
Interesting.
She's Irish, lives in Australia, Irish descent.
So was she born in Australia?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. But she protects not Australian. She protects that Irish heritage.
Does she protect Edward?
Yes.
Okay. So she
doesn't.
This is in his best interest.
She will not hesitate to comment negatively towards him in order to get him go on the right track.
Okay. Well, you don't want a board of yes men around you.
Oh, Edward intentionally picks the opposite.
Yeah, well, smart people do.
Oh yeah. He intentionally picks somebody who's going to tell him what he doesn't want to hear.
Yeah. That's more valuable. It's harder to come by.
Yeah. Oh, it is, because it's a scary proposition. You work for somebody that's powerful in that they control a lot of things. They control your job. They control other things. And they're telling you, please tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Well, there's going to be a hesitation there. Like, how serious is he? And then
your underwear is showing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. telling the truth could have its limitations too. An unnecessary truth, like your baby's ugly. That's not. I'm just being real, man. Some is not a helpful.
Well, some is.
You got to understand the difference.
Understanding reality gets to be a huge problem as you get higher and higher levels of power, because everybody is trying to sell you something.
And I think we see people that have got to be out of touch with reality, that they surround themselves with a bubble of.
That's true.
I mean, Edward has artificial intelligence that he is programmed to compliment him every time he walks in the house and everything. I swear to you, he does. Yeah.
Really? That's odd.
Yeah. Like welcome home, supreme leader type stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, stuff like that.
I thought it'd be maybe
because he can't get his staff.
Believe how good you look in that shirt.
He can't get his staff to do it, so he does it through artificial intelligence.
Yeah, okay. There's a need there, but he doesn't want to compromise his staff.
I think there's therapy for those things.
Yeah, maybe
you can get that. Let's talk about the D before I get myself in trouble.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
You get the DSA co-chair, Megan Romer, has been remarkably fun to watch. She's a Democratic Socialist of America.
Okay.
And she's also blaming October 7th on the attack from Hamas on Israel policies.
Okay.
Which is wonderful. She's a co-chair alongside a Sheikh Siddiqui, who's backing the defense or economic support for Israel. He wants to get rid of it. It's a solid right line. It's declaring, I guess, that our backing of defense or support for Israel's economic red line. That's why they did not support Ocasio-Cortez as a candidate. They don't want Ocasio-Cortez on there.
Okay.
She has some other thing. What Edward is trying. Edward says Hal does not compliment me. That's his artificial intelligence.
Okay, well, that's nice to know.
Drone system is warming up.
You see, and the reason
See,
for
I know
that,
I had to back off.
I could see it. The reason for that is because Hal only speaks the truth.
That's well, I wasn't going to go there because I think I pushed it enough.
Okay.
But hopefully you're the target for the drone.
I, for one, welcome our digital overlords.
Yes. What she says, I think the events of October 7th were in many ways inevitable. And the reason she said that because she was asked by an interviewer about a DSA-backed person that was rallying against Israel on October 8th. They went on air to rally against Israel on October 8th, the day after. And she says, I think the events October 7th were always inevitable. And then it was a question with like, would you have been on the streets protesting against Israel on October 8th, along with his Daraliza, after they killed some 1,200 Israelis and sparked a brutal roll in the Palestine enclave? She says, well, if you put people in an open air concentration camp and deny them basic rights, dignity, food, and the ability to live with minimal security for so long, you have to expect that eventually they will rebel. And that's not defending any harm of civilians.
You know, I have not seen any rebellion to speak of in North Korea. And yet it fits her description perfectly.
She's saying that Israel was
she's saying that, but it's
was
not
putting
accurate.
the Gaza Strip in concentration camp. That's not true.
I know.
That she was denying them basic rights and dignity. In what way? Denying them food? How did they deny food?
Well, they denied them basic rights by not capitulating and killing themselves and letting the people who are now in Gaza take over all of Israel and kill all the Jews. That was a denial of their basic rights.
From what I understand about Gaza, Israel had control of Gaza, and Israel had settlements. Some people had settled in Gaza. The Jewish people had settled. Israel said, Gaza's yours, and they pulled out the settlements. They pulled the people back in.
And they allowed it.
And they said, look, it's all yours. Do
self-government.
Self-government, do with it as you will. And now that's called a concentration camp?
That's exactly what she says.
That's called no rights? Denying them food?
Well, they didn't have any rights because the people in charge, let's see, it was Hamas there.
Hamas.
Didn't allow them to have any rights.
They voted Hamas in for leadership.
Right. And Hamas was somewhat popular.
Yeah.
And Hamas indoctrinated everybody from the time they were able to speak.
And I think
the best thing you could do is kill Jews.
The PLO supported Hamas. I mean, they were all in it together. And to depend that on the Israelis, educate me. Tell me how you do that. Tell me what they were doing to make it an open air concentration camp. What's the basic rights they were denied? You can't shoot rockets at Israel. Is that a right?
That's one of them.
Without expecting a return fire.
Right. You can't come into Israel unless we verify your ID and give you a possibility of work here.
To my knowledge,
we've had so many people, suicide bombers.
To my knowledge, no Jews lived in Gaza, nor would it be safe for them. But yet, Palestinians are citizens of Israel.
I am not certain. I think I had read at some point that there were a very small number of Jews who still lived in Gaza. Not Israeli citizens, but Jews.
Edward just gave me a targeting map that includes this building that says, tell Derek I will pay for damages.
Well, nice for him.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I think, no. Don't encourage him.
Oh,
I mean, he probably has capability.
I doubt it.
Well, but I had to say it publicly in case something happens.
Sure.
No, if I trip and fall, we're going to blame Edward at this point.
Oh, okay. That's the plan.
That's the plan. Well, Megan Romer noted that she likely would have attended the October 8th rally the day after the Hamas attack if she lived in New York at the time. DSA is advocating for a free Palestine with the capital in Jerusalem. Now, how do you get the capital in Jerusalem unless you eliminate Israel altogether?
Well, that's the plan. That's the idea. That's what they want. I mean, it's clear,
Which,
from the river to the sea. Well,
that's exactly right.
Israel.
And she says, well, which means a one-state solution. Yeah, the one state would be
Yes.
not Jewish.
Right.
Not a two-state solution. A one-state. She wants a one-state solution. She's talking about genocide of the Israel population.
Right. Exactly. And
says that-
I think if you confronted her with that, she would say, no. If the Jews will all leave peacefully, when
Then there's nobody gets hurt.
Right.
She says, I would not call Hamas queer friendly, because she's talking about the Hamas record, and she conceded that I wouldn't call them queer friendly. I would not say that you can get a lot of social rights when you're under siege. So she's blaming it on Israel. Like they're under siege. I think most queer people that have been killed in Palestine have been killed by Israeli bombs.
Wow.
Like once they push them off the buildings, maybe the bombs hit them before they hit the ground.
It's a very
It's just so
weird way
Yeah.
of thinking about reality.
Right. But she's serious.
Oh yeah. I mean, her view of reality is
I'm not taking this out of context.
it's the way her politics are, the way she thinks about reality.
But this is the DSA. This is the Democratic Socialists of America.
Right, correct.
She's the co-chair. Now, if a co-chair of the Republican Party said such things, they wouldn't be in office before they would be out of office before the sun went down.
I think you are correct.
And yet, this is, I mean, Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders, they can read all this. They see it. They know it. They understand it. They ignore it or they embrace it. I'm not sure because they're not going to comment.
I think it's a combination, probably. I mean, the Democratic Socialists are a power on the rise within the Democratic Party.
Do you don't think Edward knows what part of the building I occupy? And I don't think so. I'm starting to get worried.
Wouldn't be hard. To
he's
find
targeted
out.
he's not going to take the whole building out.
Well, he said he'd pay for it. So if he has a significant amount of money, a couple $100,000 building, it's other people in the building, innocent bystanders. He'd probably be worried about them, I would think. Paying reparations for them could be very
depends on the day. Just let him know we're on the east side of the building if he asks.
East, yeah. I always get that east and west thing mixed up when I'm on the street there.
You do. She was asked about a country she believes is a great model for the U.S. to follow, which is good. She said, Cuba. Seriously. She said, Cuba. It's the most LGBTQ friendly constitution in the world.
Well, the Constitution may be that friendly, but they put all kinds of gay people into concentration camps and executed a whole bunch of them.
I want to repeat. She is the co-chair of the Democrat Socialist of America, Cuba, most LGBTQ friendly constitution in the world. And she downplays any concerns about its government being tyrannical.
Yeah, well, okay, because she plans to be in charge. Well, that's just idiotic. I mean, it is. It's so profoundly disconnected from reality as to be idiotic.
And then she was asked about supporting Ukraine, like, United States supports Ukraine and all. She says, we don't believe in pouring American money and weapons anywhere in the world. It doesn't make anything better. So she would withdraw guns, support any kind of military support.
I guess, we could go into a historical context. Was it wrong to support Russia in World War II?
I think that's a great question for her.
Yeah.
Was it wrong for France to support the United States during the Revolution?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it would depend on whether France was LGBT or LGBTQ positive.
I think what it would come down to is, was the U.S. supporting somebody or was somebody else supporting somebody? Because what the U.S. did was always wrong.
Yeah. They have a bad...
the U.S. supports individual freedom, limitations on government power.
And because of Edward's comments about just saying what they do wrong, I'm going to say that I think the Republican Party supports the U.S.
Yeah, it's well, especially the Trumpian party. I'm not so sure
Yeah.
about the legacy GOP prior to 1994, let's say.
Oh, really? You think there's some negative?
I think there were
Anti-US.
a lot of what I would call globalists,
Okay.
or
Might have been.
Republican progressives, perhaps,
Yeah.
that were in, and I think, we could probably name names,
I see
a lot of them are gone now.
a comment here from one of the listeners. Why do several notable conservatives oppose Israelis' policy in Gaza? What is Israelis' policy in Gaza right now?
The destruction of Hamas.
Yes, that
as
is
a
it.
military force and as a political force in Gaza. I would say that's, and basically killing any of the people who were actively involved in the October 7th attack.
It says they see it as anti-Christian. I don't think anything is anti-Christian
Well,
about that. And I'm thinking that's the Israeli policies right now is, and I think they're looking for some kind of agreement to that and have some, let them build or do whatever they want. I know Trump recommended, United States oversee it and we'll build hotels.
yeah, and there was going to be a commission,
but
and
that's
he
not going to
settled
happen.
the Arab states would have been
I think the
actively participating.
I think
in
the
that.
Arab states would be a better mix than United States getting involved in that. But
So I mean, they looked at that, and it sounded like a pretty serious proposal.
I think Israel's policy right now, the only policy I see that they have is just what you said, eliminated of Hamas and never letting that happen again.
Yeah,
To where they militarize against us.
right. I mean, I would say, if I were an Israeli, I'd look at that and I'd say, we made a mistake. We should never have allowed them to build up the power to significantly hurt us. We thought it wasn't there, and look what happened.
But they have neighbors right now, like Egypt has not been a problem neighbor for decades. They were the first one to invade in 47, I think it was. I think they only occupied Israel for a very short time, became a country, and Egypt invaded. That was a very
it was 48 war, I think.
40 was it 48? So yeah, they hadn't been much of a government until then, and then they won that and expanded a little bit.
Yeah, and then they managed to control part of Jerusalem. I mean, that took a little while.
Yeah,
and they've gotten a little bit more territory here and there. They're an incredibly small country. Really.
They're the size of New Jersey, and they've been fending off attacks since they opened.
Right.
Since they put up a shingle, said "Welcome to Israel." Neighbors have put in bombs and cannons and tanks and military.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a thorn in the side of Islamicists who think that should never be allowed. You should never be allowed to have anybody but a Muslim in charge.
I think the big supporter of all the terrorism has only been Iran in recent years, recent decades.
In recent years, Iran has been the big supporter. I mean, recent decades, actually.
Yes, I mean, because it's Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis.
Right. I mean, the
proxies.
The Soviet Union was a big supporter for quite a while, but they were actually, a lot more civilized in the sense that they would take over aircraft and then have hostages and demand money and political favors and release of prisoners. Whereas, the current jihadists, it's just take over the plane and drive them into buildings.
Yeah. We haven't had a plane hijacking in a long time since, I mean, the ones you talk about. I remember growing up and seeing all the plane hijacks, sitting on tarmacs, trying to negotiate.
Well, I remember
they gave that up a long time ago.
I remember this really, really well because I remember it from the day 9/11 happened. I was on duty out at YPG, and somebody said something about an airplane crashing into a building, and I turned on a little television that we had at our duty there, and I went, and I think it was when they said a second plane, and I said, oh no, this is not an accident. And then it came out that they had some information that they had caught somebody who was like surveilling the Twin Towers, and then they let him go. And at the time when that happened, it was previous to 9/11. I remember thinking to myself, oh yeah, this fear mongering that we always have to ramp up the security state, that this isn't the way that people are really a security threat. Yeah, you have hijackings. Well, then the plane lands somewhere and they negotiate, and most of the hostages. And I was just wrong. I was so wrong, because Al Qaeda was a very serious threat, and they killed several thousand Americans that day.
Yeah.
And I think a whole lot of other Americans reached the same conclusion. I was wrong. We need more security, and we got it, and it's worked.
Well, you mean the Patriot Act?
Well, not just that, but all the heightened security measures.
Right.
And the Patriot Act, I thought, went somewhat too far.
Well,
and maybe
I think the things they promised in the Patriot Act were lies. They promised no one would touch it. It would be safe. It would be secure. No one's going to.
Well, that's right. And it was used for political purposes during the Obama administration and the Biden administration.
See, Edward sends me something on something about statewide races. I can't read it all here, but he said a recent Texas Southern University poll put the Democrat state lawmaker up by 47 to 45% in Texas Senate race. In others, he's tied or marginally behind. Texas going blue? Question mark. Well, they said the same thing about Beddoes at the time. Remember,
right? And how Beddoes was closer ahead at sometimes, and I think it was a pretty severe blowout against him in the general.
Now,
I mean, do we know in the final? I mean, wasn't it something
against Ted Cruz and Beddoes?
Yeah, it was 55 to 45 or something like that. That's my memory, and my memory is very faulty. Or let's say it's subject to error. So we'll find very quickly what the differentiation was in that election between Cruz and.
I asked for Beddoes versus Cruz, and it gave me a Supreme Court ruling.
Oh.
53-44. No, that's Cochran. I'm sorry. No, that's 26. Ted Cruz wins Senate seat. Election results. There we go. 44-53. So it's big. That's a pretty big spread. Especially when there were polls that showed Beddoes ahead.
Yeah, not quite as big as I thought, but only about a percentage and a half point off.
Yeah.
So although I was in error, it wasn't a large error.
No. And then he makes we were talking in the comment, Texas. So he said several voters who came from California have stated that Texas is too conservative and does not provide enough benefits. That's probably a true statement.
I would think it is, because
he says several.
Some or several could be as few as 5.
Yeah, could be 6.
I mean, and if you come from a state where you get a lot of stuff that's doesn't cost you anything, or at least not clearly, and then you go to a state that doesn't provide it, you may feel that you have lost something. Very likely you will. It's a common complaint of conservatives that people from blue states move there and then try to institute blue policies, which they said didn't work in the state they fled. So why should you try it in the new? Well, because human nature always loves something for nothing, even if they know it's not exactly likely or cannot be true overall.
I've asked artificial. Okay. Research from the academic team at the University of Texas in Austin and the University of Maryland found that Among tracked California to Texas movers, roughly 44% were Republican, while only 29% were Democrats. And I've read that before.
Yeah, I think I've read something.
Because
like
there's
that.
always that fear, like, well, these Californians are flooding, so we're going to get the California policies.
I guess the question is a California Republican, how close to a Texas Republican are they? There might be a
They probably have
difference.
some learning to do.
Yeah.
There's some re-education camps.
You have to learn how to barbecue.
Yeah.
So,
wow. This, I mentioned something about Egypt and Israel and
Right.
Jordan and all them getting along now when they were
yes.
mortal enemies. He says, maybe it's because they're the biggest recipients of U.S. foreign aid. I don't know if that plays.
When I'm trying to think of who made that original thing happen, and as I recall, there was a promise to pay both Israel and Egypt several $billion a year.
Wow.
If they signed the peace treaty.
I
mean, several $1 billion a year is probably cheap in preventing wars,
right.
But I do recall that.
I would think that's a terrible move. I like what Trump's doing now. That Trump has gone into to talk about these warring factions and say, look, let's do business.
Yeah.
And that's a much different deal than let's just give you free money.
Well, it's I'm pretty sure I'm correct. I may be off on the numbers a significant amount, but I thought it was in the neighborhood of like $3 billion a year to both sides. So,
well, it's kind of weird.
Well,
I mean,
it's flat out bribery in a sense.
Yeah.
But has it prevented war? Has it been positive for the world overall?
And is that the reason they're not fighting now?
Well, you get used to that and you go, well, this is pretty good. I like this.
Is it really that big a deal to them in the long run that they get that kind of money?
That's a good question. And how much gets siphoned off to the people who are in power?
I don't know. Let's talk to Mad Mike. Hey, Mr. Mike.
Morning, boys. Been an eventful morning. I took some Home Depot stuff down to San Luis and hurried back to pick up someone at the queue to drop her off at the border to go to the dentist.
Huh?
And now I'm doing Walmart deliveries.
Well, it sounds like you're making money.
Yeah. Staying busy.
I am. I'm also burning an awful lot of gas.
Yeah.
But the good news is I'm working out the kinks and getting joined in with this cartel, and I think it's going to work out. I'll be able to.
Let me explain that cartel does not mean an illegal cartel. You're just talking about a group that's together.
That's what I call them.
I know.
They're a group that hangs out, but yeah, for legal purposes, I probably should use the club.
Yeah.
Oh.
The club that steals.
But cartel sounds so much more intimidating.
Yeah. It makes them sound important.
And interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then somebody's going to flash a sign at you and say, "Who you with?"
And of course, you're primarily you're tied into what? Uber?
No, I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
But I can't get the dang app to accept my insurance document.
Wow.
And I just haven't had time to call them. I've been so busy.
Oh, you've been too busy working.
Well, that's not such a horrible thing.
Bouncing all over the place.
So now you're doing this.
Now you are getting paid, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He wouldn't otherwise.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it might take credit or
no. Dean, this is not a hobby.
So you're doing this full time.
Whoa. I'm doing everything together full time.
Wow. Great
More
for
than
you.
more than full time.
All right.
Okay, 24/7.
Doing
No, not that much.
no
Dang,
full time's
one
8
extreme to
hours.
the
Right?
other.
Is that 8
Yeah.
hours?
I'm probably doing 10 hours a day.
8 hours.
Well, that's a significant amount.
10 hours a day.
Yes.
And you enjoy it.
I'm having fun.
Good for you.
Had some personality conflicts to work out, but we're all getting to know each other. Now I'm trying to get this stuff dropped off because it's already started raining out here in the foothills.
Whoa.
It's raining in the foothills?
Yeah, look at your radar app or something. It's coming.
I got blue
Wow.
skies out here. I don't have any sun. I mean,
Must be a thunderstorm.
I mean, I don't have any windows in here, but I can look out the
Sure.
door and see
Well,
the window on the other side of the
that's-
room.
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah,
have
you
windows because I'm afraid of Edward.
It could just be a towering cue. It doesn't have to be thunder. I should be correct.
Yeah.
Have you heard any
Right.
thunder or seen any lightning?
Not lightning, yes, but thunder, no. It's still on the other side of the mountains.
Okay.
Wow.
But I wanted to call in and say hello real quick before
Well,
you went off the air.
I appreciate it, man. Stay good. Stay safe.
Be good or be good at it, buddy.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm kind of a little disappointed. I think it's always useful to have friends in a cartel.
No, I'm not in favor. See, today there's only a 15% chance of rain. Just looking at my,
But he says they're
Phone real
getting
quick.
it.
yeah, scattered showers probably of some kind.
Well, you know, nobody's perfect. And as a meteorologist, I can claim that as a professional compliment.
I'm not perfect either. I should have been a meteorologist. I would be good at it.
Yeah, a lot of people told me, "Wow, that's great. You know,
Yeah.
you're a meteorologist in Arizona and the Southwest.
Yeah.
Wow,
It's not like being a meteorologist in Colorado, I wouldn't think. Like in Colorado up in the mountains,
yeah."
I tell you.
weather changes every 30 minutes. it
Oh,
seems
my
like. Certain
goodness.
times a year, it's very
I
highly
did it.
variable.
I did enjoy it though. It was kind of interesting.
Well, you know, I tell people, I've told people over the years, and I'm 12 years out, retired from my former profession, but you know, just because you can't predict perfectly doesn't mean you're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
And the other thing was that in my particular job, weather prediction forecasting was a pretty small portion of the overall job.
Yeah.
Mostly it was collecting information, collecting data.
So that you could forecast.
No, so that people who were doing tests could figure out what effect the
Oh,
weather had on it.
Okay. But you had to know
Well, we did that too. I mean,
Yeah.
all of those things worked together. And eventually, because of some very sophisticated models that were developed up at NCAR, we had a super sophisticated, very fast model for its time that would allow you to have a pretty good handle on what was happening on a micro scale, you know, within the proving area, maybe 50 miles around it, for like an hour, a couple hours into the future. Very useful when you're doing testing.
Well, yeah. If you want to know what the wind is or something, especially projectiles affected and all.
Oh,
that.
absolutely. All
Yeah.
that's very important.
Right.
And I think we shot more artillery here than anywhere else in the world. And I think I know we released more high altitude meteorological balloons here than
There were
anyplace else
times
in the
I could
world.
hear it living in Mesa del Sol. I could hear artillery.
Sure.
And that's quite a distance.
Well, it all depends on what the atmospheric conditions are. They'll
Okay.
bend the sound waves.
Well, I was thinking more like what were you firing too? I mean, there's some big
Well,
stuff, little stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But
Mm.
artillery puts out a pretty good shock wave. And then, like, I have some property towards the east end of the YPG out in the desert. It's not on YPG, but it's out there. And there are target areas out there. So you'll have artillery fired 30 miles away, and it comes out and it explodes in the target area. Well, that's a big boom, and maybe you're only 7 or 8 miles from that.
And you think they're shooting at you.
Well, you hear the boom. I knew what was going on because I was plugged
Yeah.
into the system out there. So, and it's spectacular shows at times, you know, for light and stuff.
Oh
So
yeah. I've seen some of it, gone.
most
driving
of
out
it
there,
is they
so-
don't. Most of it's not like they don't have a YouTube channel showing it,
No.
but you know, you cannot prevent the sound waves or the light from going through the atmosphere.
When Chuck Willenjohn was out there, and he was the public relations guy.
Yeah, I
I
worked with Chuck a lot.
I spent a lot more time with him, and he would always invite me. Just sometimes when they get international people in, and they would be
Sure,
doing
they
some
had a lot of
shows and
big
stuff.
shows, and that's his job.
And I'm sure they still do that.
I'm sure they do. I'm kind of. I need to get I have a contact, but it hasn't been very active, and I really need to do that because there's some interesting stories about just armaments.
Well,
And YPG is one of the premier armament testing centers in the whole world.
I could call Mark up and he'd help me out. You know, he's
Yeah,
taking
I
over.
think I've still got his email
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
But I
But
just
I'm so
haven't.
busy with so much other stuff.
Me too. I haven't been that active with the military.
But it's a fantastic resource that is right here.
I never used to miss a promotion or big promotion or a change. I mean,
Change of command ceremony and
command.
stuff like
I
that.
went to every command.
And of course, while I
ceremony.
was active, that was all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
not all the time. You had to change command every couple of 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But you had stuff going on just all of the time. I mean, YPG is just super busy, and I'm sure it still is.
And they've thrown me out of airplanes before, of course, with a parachute.
Oh yeah, that's
And
good.
I've been on tanks, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I kind of had it in the back of my mind as a side hobby of trying to create a rumor of YPG as the next Area 51.
Okay, we could do that.
And then it wouldn't be that hard to do because they do a lot of secret black stuff.
But when we get our signal back very shortly, I plan on calling YPG and the Marine Corps Air Station and asking for more exposure.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And there are just so many stories out there. And of course, there are stories that you were not allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
And it was all compartmentalized.
And believe me, they never did.
Correct.
But they tested me at time and told me stuff I wasn't supposed to say.
And there was stuff, I'd learn about stuff and, well, this is a black, project, or this is classified. We can't tell you exactly what's going on. But sometimes there was stuff that was open, like I remember we tested some like super ultralight solar powered planes that would go up to like 50,000
I
feet.
remember. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fantastic story. I mean, we had that forecasting was a very important part of that program because they needed very specific conditions to get off the ground.
Those planes were not going to take turbulence very much.
No. And I think we did a great job with them.
Do you realize our show's been over for 5 minutes?
It's too much fun.
But we have to end it. We got to go. I appreciate you, Dane. Thanks.
All right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll
pleasure.
be back. This is Russ Clark. We're at Mortgage One.
Yeah, I could probably talk about YPG for hours.